Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the market close. Today is Tuesday, August 13th, 3:46 p.m., and we've got a lot to talk about. Jason will be on at 4:10, and we will do Technical Tuesday. So all the stocks, all the tickers that you are curious about from a technical perspective, obviously Palantir breaking into these new 52-week highs. That'll be the first one we look at in terms of seeing what the trajectory looks like for Palantir. Robinhood's going to be another one, and a bunch of other names, Tesla, NVDA, etc. So we'll look at a ton of names starting around 4:10. So any tickers you are curious about, try to get them ready, and we'll go from there. Top headlines. We actually have a lot of stuff to discuss. First of all, after the bell, we have Nubank, which is going to be really interesting. They are one of the fastest growing fintechs in Latin America. So Nubank is going to be pretty much the main earnings. I mean, there's a couple of other companies, but Nubank is the big one to look at after the bell. And then we've got a variety of other things to talk about. So we've got some new Fed comments, which is very interesting. The Fed trying to cool down the talk on a rate cut, of course, because the Fed is the Fed. Number two, we've got Starbucks, which is on track for its largest gain in history, up almost 22% on the day. And then we've got Google, which I didn't even know they were having this event today. I found out this morning. Google's having some like AI Expo. They're supposed to do this in October every year. They're doing it 2 months in advance, probably because they're really trying to show the integrated features between Gemini and the models they're deploying against Gmail, YouTube, Android, etc. So there's an interesting video of a little bit of a mistake the demo had, of course, because Google somehow finds a way to make mistakes on these. And so we'll watch that and take a look at what's going on with Google. Before we get into all of that, let's talk about our beloved friend, Palantir. Robinhood basically flat on the day. I'll talk about Robinhood a little bit, but basically flat right now on Robinhood. QQQ 462, that's up 2.4% on the day. That's a great day. S&P 541, that's up 1.56%. That's a great day. And then you got Palantir up 3%. Now, Palantir almost broke 31. It's been holding 30 throughout the majority of the day. It really hasn't dipped below 30 for the past like 5 hours. And it looks like we're going to close the second time since 2021 above $30, which is a very good sign for Palantir. I mean, closing above $30 2 times in the past week, once on Friday. And then, yesterday we fell 2%, back to like 29.3. Now we're back at 30.3. Exciting stuff and a really strong price action. I mean, at the end of the day, there's no real catalyst that's creating this. We did get a partnership this morning, but it's not like the biggest partnership in the world. I talked about that on the market open. That was the Surf Air Mobility partnership. They're going to be leveraging Palantir's AIP and Foundry to build their new Surf OS platform on. But regardless, I mean, besides that partnership, this is really just pure momentum. And I think primarily a lot of the momentum we're seeing in Palantir, Celsius is up 4%, Google's up 1.3%. It was actually tumbling. You see, it went red when the demo was not doing too well. So it was actually struggling a little bit, but now it's making up a lot of those gains. TQQQ is up 7% on the day. PayPal's up 2.4%. NVDA is up 6.3%. Why are all those stocks up? Well, PPI was good. And we talked about that this morning. PPI was pretty exceptional. So just bringing up PPI again for those that missed it. We beat on the core. I was about to say beat on the top and bottom line, like it's earnings. We beat on the month over month, 0.1 versus 0.2, core 0% versus 0.2, yearly 2.2 versus 2.3, core 2.4 versus 2.6. I think, and I'll go, I'll put my prediction out there. I think 2.8 is CPI tomorrow. Now, I'm probably going to be wrong, and it's probably going to be 2.9-ish, but I don't think there's enough catalyst for inflation to accelerate or stay flat in the month of July. And so I do think we get 2.8 tomorrow. I think the banks are saying that it's 2.9 or 3% to be a bit conservative so that they can justify buying when there's a good top line beat. But almost all the banks say 3% on the headline. I think we're getting 2.8. And if we do get 2.8, I think the market's going to be very excited about that. So really exciting market. Tesla as well, also up 5.4%. Speaking of Tesla, I have to talk about something when it comes to Tesla. Did you guys know that the reason Tesla's Model 3 is not called a Model E is because Ford had a trademark on Model E. And because they had that trademark, they did not let Elon use the name Model E. Now, if you knew this, well, congrats. If you didn't know this, then if you were under my Twitter post, then you were reminded about this same topic by at least 25,000 people that commented, hey, do you know why it's Model 3 instead of Model E? It's because Ford had the blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So thank you again for letting me know. So I tweeted this. I told you guys this in the morning. I put it on Twitter. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. I was just like, hey, there's probably other people that relate to me. I did not know Model S3, X, and Y spells out sexy. Obviously, the 3 is not an E. Why? Because Ford has a trademark on it. Did you know that Ford has a trademark on it? Because I didn't know that. So now I know that today. I legit did not know this until Elon said it last night. And the amount of hate that I'm getting in the comments for not knowing this is pretty profound. I mean, I mean, someone got like 95 likes by saying, bro, yeah, there's still time to delete this. So this is the I didn't know this, dude. And I think for everyone who criticizes me for not knowing this, there's at least 5 people that agree with me. They're just too scared to speak up. They're just way too scared to speak up. And that's okay. I'll take the L. You know, I'll be the guy that ends up taking the fall for this. But at the end of the day, I don't think people knew that. How many people in the chat? How many people in the chat realistically knew that? Like realistically, how many people in the chat knew that? See, we got someone right here. This is news to me. See, so thank you, Grim Peter, for agreeing. ESES says, I didn't know either. Thank you. So we have some people, not legal advice, says, I did not know. Thank you. We needed people to step up to this because I can't be the only one. And I know there's people that didn't know this, but they're too afraid to say it. Nonetheless, NVIDIA is up 6.25% on the day, and then Tesla as well. Incredible day for Tesla, up 5.42%. Really a phenomenal day. A phenomenal day across the market. Now, quickly, why is Robinhood struggling? I think there's 2 theories. I was talking about this with a couple people today. I did buy more shares of Robinhood today. 2 things. Number 1, Bitcoin was going up and Robinhood was staying flat. Bitcoin right now is at 60,891, basically at 61,000. I think they're holding it down until... What I mean, they holding it down, I think the market is not comfortable with giving Robinhood a multiple and a premium until the market thinks that we're out of bear market territory. And so far, there is a lot of reasons you could argue for the market not being out of bear market territory. I know this morning we talked about a lot of the bullish arguments for the market, but in general, if you think the S&P has not bottomed yet, if you think this is a major dead cat bounce, if you think unemployment is going to be more rapid, if you believe Home Depot that the consumer is weakening and the Fed's rate cut in September is not going to be enough to stop, which there's no way it is. Like if the Fed cuts in September, we're in Q3 right now. There is no way Q3 earnings is going to see the benefit of the rate cut on the consumer, especially not even on 25 basis points, right? The housing market's probably going to see that going into Q4, but not in Q3. So if you believe in Q3, all these companies are going to say, hey, there's an issue with the consumer and there's broader weakness in the economy, and we don't have the end of year melt up that a lot of people think is going to happen, then I think the market's scared to give Robinhood that premium, even though obviously I believe it's undervalued. The analysts believe it's undervalued. Got a $32 price target yesterday. And in general, you know, most people are coming to the conclusion that Robinhood's earnings are phenomenal. So that's the first reason why I think Robinhood's being held down. The other reason I think Robinhood's being held down is tomorrow they have their July metrics. So tomorrow after the bell, we're going to see their July metrics. Those July metrics are going to be insane. They increased 20% trading volumes in equities, options, and crypto. So when that comes out tomorrow, I think that'll be interesting for the market. We get CPI tomorrow as well. So we have a really good day. We have CPI, which I think is going to come in really cold. And then we have Robinhood metrics, which they already told us they're going to blow it out of the park. So now they're just going to confirm it to us. And I think that can be momentum building for the stock. If that does not move the stock, I simply think that means the market is waiting for this 507 on the S&P to legit be a bottom and for them to not have any fears that it's the bottom. As you can see right there, 507 was on Monday. We are up 7% from that Monday, August 5th bottom. I still don't think the market believes in it. I think we got to cross 555 from a technical perspective for the market to really think, okay, we are done with the bear market. And that's when I think a lot of the risk on assets start to get some more momentum as well. So that's how I think it's going to play out, and we'll see where it goes from there. IWM, small caps getting some love as well today, up 1.55%. SMCI up 4%. Eli Lilly up 2.6%. Starbucks, you would have think Starbucks gives up some of its gains. It went up even further since the market opened. It was up 22%. Now it's up 24%. I mean, dude, this thing, this is just absolutely incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Big Sour, thank you for the $20 super chat. Yes, we will talk about PLMR for Technical Tuesday. So I'll put that on the list and we'll make sure to talk about it. Thank you so much for the super chat. So here's my question in the context of Starbucks. Danielle says, we know Amit isn't afraid of bottoms. Okay, that's funny. Would you buy puts on this? Would you buy puts on Starbucks? I'm not going to lie. I looked at the option chain today. I looked at it, and I was trying to see how expensive it was. It was actually kind of cheap for January 2025, $70 puts. I didn't buy any, but it looked kind of cheap. Bsoft says, also on Robinhood, there's a lot of 8, 16, 18, 19, 20 options. I think so market makers do not want those to expire in the money. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that as well. Especially August is already dicey. You know, the market makers kind of want to keep it chill. So I would imagine they're just holding it down for a bit until they get better earnings, better numbers in terms of monthly metrics. and then they get confirmation that the market is definitively in a bull market. But would you buy puts on Starbucks? We'll actually ask Jason today what he thinks about this, if he would buy puts on Starbucks or if he would go live. Or sorry, if he would go long on Starbucks. I said live, like he's going live on a live stream. Would he go long on Starbucks? I don't know, dude. 24% seems like a ridiculous move. The CEO just made them $20 billion. Like, I doubt the CEO is getting paid $20 billion. Palantir right here at 30.35. So if he's worth $20 billion to them, he's got to be a phenomenal CEO. Now, along with would you buy puts on Starbucks, what do you think he's going to do? Because Chris was on the market open today. He said they're probably going to introduce new drinks that are less in the energy category and trying to compete with Celsius and Red Bull and stuff. I agree with that. The other thing that we didn't talk about this morning, dude, they're probably going to introduce some burritos or like some type of food that's easy to consume and like exciting to consume. And kind of following a Chipotle playbook instead of going for lunch. Maybe they have like breakfast burritos. I know Starbucks already has some type of food, but maybe that food offering becomes enhanced. And if that food offering becomes enhanced, then there's a broader appeal to go to Starbucks. I mean, the only thing I like from Starbucks is like their double smoked bacon, egg and cheese thing. It's not on a croissant. It's on like I don't even know what it's on. It's on like it's kind of on a biscuit, I would say. And then the other thing is I used to eat this in college a lot. Their tomato basil, something. There's no chicken in it. It's just tomato and something inside of bread. Like, I don't even know what it's called, and that's the problem. I should know what it's called, but that's it. So if there's not enough food offerings, maybe that's also something that he brings, which increases growth. I think they've got to lower the prices on coffee. They've got to figure a way to cut costs somewhere else so they can make the coffee cheaper and make it more exciting for consumers. But we're going to end up seeing what he does. Uber is up 2.3%, Rivian up 1.6%, Dell is up 4.8% on the day. Short QQQ, if you're short the market today, down 7%. Walmart down about 1%, probably down on Home Depot earnings. Where's Home Depot? Home Depot, recovered. Not bad. So Home Depot 1.2%. We'll get Walmart on Thursday. We'll see what it looks like in the context of Walmart. Again, I expect them to do well if the consumer's struggling. So that should be something that's good. Again, Home Depot's up because they didn't deserve to go down 30 points to 326. Earnings shows weakness, but it's not like they missed earnings by a dramatic number. And probably in Q3, they're not going to, sequentially decline to such a dramatic rate. So market ended up buying them up, but Home Depot overall had a good day. Google at 1.22%, Celsius at 39.49, and then United Health up 1.57% on the day. VIX down below almost 18. Yeah, that's another thing you got in the context of VIX. Market's closing in about 30 seconds. So the VIX, again, if it really did spike on Monday, that big Monday on August 5th, then maybe the worst of it is done. But I don't think the market is fully convinced of that yet, even though it's acting like it's convinced. I think 555. And we'll get Jason's thoughts as well, what technical levels he's looking at to be fully convinced this is not a 2-week dead cat bounce. Because if that's the case, everyone who's buying the dip is going to get demolished. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we are past the actual bottom and we can just move forward for the rest of the year. Tuesday, August 13th, 4 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The stock market is now closed. All right, let's see where we ended. Palantir, baby, closes above $30 for the second time since 2021. Exciting stuff, dude. It's exciting. I talked about this on Friday. I put out a tweet after we closed at 30. I was like, all right, now starts the process of normalizing Palantir at 30. And I thought it would take some time. And I mean, it's not going to be easy to normalize this sucker at 30. And we're nowhere near the process of that yet. But at least we're one day into it where, I mean, outside of a brief 5 minutes of the open, the majority of buying and selling, meaning bids came in, people had to buy the stock at $30 and above today if they wanted exposure to Palantir. I mean, it's just really cool to see, because the fact that people are willing to throw that bid, maybe even hedge funds willing to throw that bid, shows you that $30 is becoming normalized. So we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the week, but $30 close. Very exciting stuff for Palantir. Tesla 207 up 5% on the day. Nice reversal from 197 to 207 on the day. Starbucks ends the day up 24.5%. It's up again in the after hours. One of the best days ever for Starbucks in its history. $108 billion in market cap, adding about $20 billion on the day. AMD up 3%. NVDA, a hell of a day as well. NVIDIA was up 5% yesterday. NVIDIA is up 6.5% today, so call it about 12%. That is more than $200 billion in market cap that NVIDIA moved in the past 2 days, which is kind of crazy, right? 105-ish to 101 to 116. Like a $15 move is worth so much to the company. But, when you get that big, that's how it plays out. But that's what we got in the context of NVIDIA. Yes, Robinhood numbers will be tomorrow. Robinhood numbers will be tomorrow at about 4:05. Someone said I'm in Meet Kevin's discourse and he's down $100,000 on a day trade. Well, I think, that happens, but to give Meet Kevin credit, he also makes a ton of money on these day trades. Sometimes, I don't know if it's a wash in terms of what's his net, but I think he made like, $200,000 when he was shorting the market. So he's probably lost a little bit of money the past week. So, I mean, he nets and he's just, that's just how he enters into the market. One thing I know about him is he had 1,000, someone sent me this picture, 1,000 $20 calls expiring in 3 days on Robinhood. I don't know if the market makers are going to let him get that right now, especially. I don't know why he bought calls after Hood earnings in August. Like, I was bullish on Hood earnings, but I also realized, hey, it's August. It's going to be a little tough, right? Like, imagine Bitcoin takes, in general, it's just one of the more volatile months. So that I really didn't understand that logic of buying that many calls, especially 1,000 of them. But that one, I don't know if that's going to expire in the money. Celsius ends the day up 3.8%. People are waiting for the Starbucks move on Celsius, and that happened in February. It's just then it happened to the downside after the next couple months. But I saw some people on Twitter saying, hey, like, when do we get the CEO that's going to do what they did to Starbucks, they did to Celsius? The difference is Celsius is actually growing, and Starbucks is a fundamentally different company. And I don't think it's a CEO problem. I think it's maybe a segment problem, a sector problem in terms of energy drinks as a whole. Palantir right here, $30.39 after hours. SOFI up 2.47% of the day. If we get a good rate cut tomorrow, not a rate cut tomorrow, if we get a good CPI report tomorrow, I think SOFI catches a bid, hopefully makes its way back to $7. Target up a little bit, 1.2% of the day. Lockheed Martin and Raytheon ended yesterday at their highest levels ever in history. So the market is sending a little bit of a signal that, hey, maybe things are going to be a bit unstable geopolitically. But Lockheed Martin and Raytheon caught a bid yesterday. Nubank earnings. Okay, Nubank. So let's take a look at Nubank. Their numbers should be out either right now or in 2 minutes. Nubank is flat. Okay, let me see if I can pull those up. Sometimes they come out at 4:05. So let's see about Nubank. Does anyone own Nubank in the chat? I know Tanner, friend of the channel, he owns Nubank. The street's expecting $2.8 billion, which is 50% growth year over year. The street's expecting 9 cents of EPS, which is 91% year over year. And they're expecting customer growth rate to probably grow at 26%, given that's how much it grew in Q1. They have 99 million customers. Oh, actually, that exceeded 100 million in May. So you're going to get more than 100 million customers, that's for sure. We're moving. We are moving. There's the green candle, $12.99 after hours, up 1.38%. There's your green candle. There's your green candle. Who has Nubank? Does anyone have Nubank? Nubank. No Nubank people in the chat? Okay, we have a couple people in Nubank. All right, we got a couple. Paul owns Nubank. Scott owns Nubank. Okay, so now it's gone. That green candle disappeared. This earnings, we saw many green candles disappear quickly and then turn into red candles, but then a lot of them came back to being green. So it's been a pretty volatile earnings, but we have seen a variety of moves after hours. It hasn't been straight down or straight up for a lot of names. Where is Airbnb, by the way? That one, has that recovered at all? 116. That one's still down from like 140-ish post earnings. I am doing more research into Airbnb. No position yet. Just looking at it a little bit more. But Airbnb is still, it's up 3% today, but it's still down about 20% from earnings. Nubank. All right, now we're moving up 3.5%. 3.5%. Let me see if I can get some numbers on Nubank. Okay, here we go. Revenue of $2.8 billion. I think that came in line with expectations. ROE of 28%. Adjusted net profit of $563 million on Nubank. Those are the numbers. Stock is up 3% after hours. I think they beat on EPS and they just came in line with revenue. Yeah, it looks like a beat on EPS and coming in line with revenue. Okay, not bad for Nubank. Not bad at all. Let me see if I can get their actual earnings on their website so we can get a little bit more clarity. Nothing on their website yet, but Nubank is up after hours. Nubank. Yeah, it's not out yet. Wow, now it's getting momentum. There you go, up 5.7%. There you go. Again, they are a fintech, and fintech has not really had the best couple of years, but Latin American fintechs don't really exist besides, I mean, there's a ton of them, right? But Nubank's the one that's really aggressively growing. And they're managing their credit. They're managing their loan loss provisions. They're managing their delinquencies in an area where it's not that easy, because you're basically giving credit to people that don't have a credit score, that have never even had, money in the bank. So it's a very unique business model, and they've been executing pretty flawlessly, and the growth is just absolutely insane. Nubank is a $60 billion market cap. People don't realize that when they look at the share price, because it's only like $13. But now it's up 6% after the bell. But it is a $60 billion market cap. I think what's his name? Buffett still owns some Nubank. He's owned it for a while. Revenue was up 65% year over year, $2.8 billion. Gross profit, $1.4 billion, up 88% year over year. Net interest income surged by 77% year over year to $1.7 billion. $487 million net profits. CEO says, our second quarter 2024 results reaffirm the strength of our business model, efficiency in our execution, and resilience of our credit underwriting. Net income has more than doubled year over year, reaching US $487 million this quarter, with expanded risk-adjusted margins and one of the highest return on equities in the industry at 28%. They now have 105 million customers on Nubank. Not bad. Is this up even more? Yeah, this is up with 7%. This one's mooning. It's good earnings. You have good earnings, you're going to do well. Nubank, $13.50 right now after the bell. Congrats to shareholders. Not bad at all for Nubank. All right, there you go. So that's what you have in the context of Nubank. Kintin Capital, as Nubank has 10% of your portfolio. Okay, so you've got to be happy. You've got to be happy. That's a good one. Let's look at the Max 7, how they ended. Max 7, Microsoft ended up 1.77%. Apple, nice bid, 1.72%, 221. Again, Dan Ives raising his estimate that they're going to sell 100 million iPhone 16s. If they do that, then Apple's going to do very well. But I think a lot of people are still skeptical on that. Meta at 528, up 2.54%. Meta basically getting rid of all of the losses they had on August 5th. Google at 165, Amazon 170, NVIDIA 116, again up 6.5%. And then Tesla here up 5.24% on the day. Okay, so we're going to have Jason come on in about 5 minutes. I want to show one clip, and then we're going to have Jason join for Technical Tuesday. For those that are new to the channel, Technical Tuesday is when I bring on my favorite technical expert. And basically, we just throw him tickers, and he tells us if it's going to go up or down. And it's actually pretty accurate, so it's very fun. So we'll have him join in 5 minutes. I want to show you guys a 1 minute, 40-second clip of Google in their latest demo. For those that don't know, there was a Google conference today. I found out like 2 hours ago, so don't be upset if you didn't know. This is how one of their live demos went around one of their AI products. They are pushing AI. They need AI to work. They need the street to believe they are AI leaders. It was an interesting demo today, but here's what they ended up showing, and then we'll get into Technical Tuesday.
Take a photo and ask, check my calendar and see if I'm free when she's coming to San Francisco this year. Gemini pulls relevant content from the image, connects with my calendar, and gives me the information I'm looking for. Oh, looks like we had a little demo issue. Let me try one more time.
So he's taking a picture, and then he's asking a question via the AI.
All right. Check my calendar and see if I'm free when she's coming to San Francisco this year.
He's talking about Sabrina Carpenter when he means she.
Let's see if the demo spirits are with us today.
She's like a pop singer. This is so awkward, dude.
Nope. Uh-oh. Looks like they're not with us. All right. Let me.
Okay, they ended up figuring it out here, and then it ends up working pretty well. This guy's praying right now that it works, dude.
All right. There we go. All right. Thank you.
So I share that to say, not only does the street really want some AI, like, exceptionalism, given all this capex by the mega caps and the hyperscalers is not leading to AI revenue, which is why Google did this event 2 months earlier than they're supposed to do the event. But B, it's not perfect. And like if it's not working in the demo where they test it, billions of times, not billions of times, but you know what I mean? Like they test it a lot to make sure they don't screw it up. You can't guarantee it's going to work when it gets on our devices. So I think that in the context of Apple, to have a perfect seamless AI that is going to, Siri is going to do exactly what I say in a meaningful way, and it's going to connect to the models and extract the data and then give me meaningful insights and actually allow me to get through my day. I don't know if it's going to be perfect when it launches. And I think there has to be a beta period for developers to really play with it and understand it. Because if it's buggy, people are just not going to see it. People are not going to know why they even upgraded to the new iPhone. So I do think that it's going to take some time for that to roll out. But when it does roll out, hopefully we see more revenues from that to the bottom line. But the street is desperate for that right now. And so we will see when that plays out. All right, let's get into Technical Tuesday with our good friend Paper Gains. Jason, what's up?
What's going on, man? Wild week so far. How are you?
Wild week. It's funny because on our Twitter Spaces on Thursday, I forgot we talked for like 30 minutes about why Google sucked.
I mean, I sold my Google a while ago, but I'm not buying it back here. It's just too. I mean, I like Google value-wise for sure. That some of the parts is absolutely worth more than the whole right now to me. But the street, you know what? I look at Google and I look at Amazon. I kind of like Amazon better here right now. So even still, I feel, I sold my Google early. It ran after I sold it. I ended up trading that in for Apple, which was still a better buy.
Yep.
And I think at this point, I'm really, if I look at the Mag 7, I'm like, well, what's on the biggest sale right now? And I think it's Amazon, to be honest.
During the August 5th collapse, which of the Mag 7 did you actually buy the dip on?
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, so it was Amazon.
Yeah, so Amazon. So to be fair, I actually started buying Amazon before that because I haven't had a position in Amazon for a really, really long time. But we talked about it on that last space. I think our Thursday spaces. Yeah. Is it Thursday?
Yep.
With Stock Talk. But yeah, at this level, and you had 150, man. I'll give it to you. I got to give you this one. You had 150. I didn't have 150 in the cards. It did hit just about what is that, 152? Yeah. I had 160. So I feel like you win. You were closer on that one, but here we are, right around 170. So I even at 170, look, there was no miss here. It was just kind of like Bezos and his $200 brick wall, still there, by the way. But in terms of, what can I buy and know, hey, look, the fundamental story here and like is still alive and well. But from a technical perspective, the biggest discount, this is the sale at the moment.
Okay, so let's get into TA. The big one we all want to start with is obviously Palantir because we got new 52-week highs. But before we get into that, did you know that Elon named the Model 3, the Model S, the Model X, and the Model Y to spell sexy? Did you know that? Did you actually know that?
Dude, who doesn't?
Did you actually know that, dude? Don't lie to me. Did you know that?
What?
Because I didn't know that. Dude.
Yes, dude. Sexy.
Right, I guess everyone.
And then the Model 2 coming, right? Too sexy.
Oh, really? That what?
Come on now.
All right, I didn't know that. And did you know that Ford has Model E patented so that they are trademarked, so they can do the E?
I didn't know that.
So you didn't know that because like 25,000 people told me that today. I just letting you know.
I mean, yeah, I didn't. I knew. Yeah, no, I didn't know it was a patent. But you know what? It's Elon, man. That's a creative dude. He's gonna get around it anyway, for sure.
All right, so everyone wants to know.
You want to look at Palantir. This was the one. So the two immediate buys. What did you call it? The Volmageddon of August 8th. We survived somehow. So Palantir and Robinhood were my two like insta buys. Actually, honestly, it was Palantir first. But
makes sense.
Only because I already owned a bunch of Robinhood, and Palantir was on the shopping list. It was a huge pullback, but technically we had hit, even when I was just, and I'm going to take down some of these drawings for just a minute, but you can look at this kind of area right here, right, where everybody has been accumulating. Actually, I sold my Palantir over here, and I didn't buy it back in here. So when I saw the opportunity, right, like at the moment, I was like, okay, yeah, let's go. This was, to me, it was essentially buying it back where I had sold earlier, like after that last earnings report. So
did you legit catch the bottom at $20, 2069, or?
No, I think it was, I kept buying, right? I bought a little bit in the pre, probably like right over here. And then it was like, where was it? Pre-market over here.
It jumped to 23, like within.
I didn't get the bottom, no, man. So I bought a little bit here, and then I bought a little bit here. So I think, let me see. It's like 20, close to 22.
It's not bad. That's not bad at all. Yeah. That's fair.
And the only thing on Palantir too, like you're right about this 30 level. The only thing that kind of got me concerned after like a huge bounce, and that's the same on a lot of these, is that even from here to here, we're looking at about, I'm sitting on like a 40% gain.
Yep.
The stock in a couple days is up 50%. Granted, it should never have really been at $20 or $22, to be fair. But at the same time, we have a lot of people that probably did buy that dip. And now it's like, what are they going to do? Are they going to sell it, or are they going to sit on it and hodl? So I think that's part of the question that you'd have to ask, right? For now, look, once we started getting over that 2750, we remember that 2750 level, that was crucial. Near term, it was support over here, became resistance. This is where Palantir ends up being a bit of a near term short trade, as in, well, it's kind of going down. But once you got back over that, it's like, okay, 2750, we're good. Now we're back kind of on track, still looking for that 3120 or 3180 ish. But I still have this massive gap to 3560. Give or take. So to me, this is still kind of in play. I'm kind of torn too, because I didn't buy it because I bought equity. And what I'll tell you now is if anybody is out there that was in calls before this massive Volmageddon, you probably noticed that while the stock might be lower than when you bought an option, regardless of how much time you had, the options weren't really down that much. And this is a weird situation that the market's in right now. It's kind of got me a little bit on edge as a trader, because a trader, I do trade a lot of options, is that volatility at 65 or whatever, even though it's going down, your calls are also getting juiced in terms of IV. This is a situation where you could have had calls and seen the premiums go up while the stock was like just tanking.
Right.
So now we're at a situation really where everything's kind of leveling out. Today happens to be the first day where I think that the volatility really based out, and most of that extra IV has been pulled out of long-term options. So today is one of those days where it's like, okay, I can see this is a long today. Unfortunately for us, we have CPI coming tomorrow morning, and we're right into a really critical point across the board. But for now, look, this was that old support resistance at 2930. Yesterday, Palantir closed basically sitting on it and bounced right up off of it. So that's really
what would
good.
it take? What would it take for you to feel 30 is a base? Like, would it take a few weeks?
No. So I think that Palantir is getting a little bit of love from CrowdStrike investors, if this makes sense. So hear me out on this. Prior to the CrowdStrike fiasco, CrowdStrike and you talk to Shai, right? So we know Shai, like the rule of 40 score, right?
Yeah.
There were only a few software names that held like this really high rule of 40 score, and it was Palantir and it was CrowdStrike and a couple others. CrowdStrike comes off the table after this whole fiasco. We know that they're going to have to guide down or cut guidance. Essentially, stock is rebounding here, but at the same time, it's never going to have that same type of like score. It's never going to have, not for years at least, it's not going to have that same type of weight in the market, stock market, that is. Yeah. But who does? Palantir has the growth, they have the margins, they have everything, and they really have the technicals too. So if you were a CrowdStrike investor that got really frustrated, I think the most like logical place for you to go and get that same type of, rule of 40 or what have you, that velocity, is Palantir.
Do you think if you're long cybersecurity, you would still go long AI? Like, do you think that thematic makes sense in terms of the swing?
I think they're different, right?
I think they're different too, but why do you think CrowdStrike investors would?
They're related. But cybersecurity, we call InfoSec, whatever, that's always going to have a market. That's one of the stickiest markets that you can get into. But CrowdStrike at the same time, it's not like they were the number one player. It's like they were a growing player. They were the best in breed at their specific niche. But I'll tell you, coming from the enterprise, there are many, like cybersecurity as a whole is very like kludgy. Like it's really hard for people to kind of grasp. It's endpoint protection. I used to sell CrowdStrike. I sold Palo Alto Networks. I sold Zscaler. I sold SentinelOne, and I sold Cylance, which BlackBerry bought. But and a bunch of others too. I'll tell you firsthand, Palo Alto Networks account managers are some of the best account managers out there. So props to any of you guys. And in the enterprise, you own, from my perspective, when I was in the enterprise, I owned the relationship to the account. So let's say you are Palantir. You, Palantir, Amit, would be buying CrowdStrike from me, Jason, and or buying Palo Alto Networks from me, Jason.
Right.
Like whatever it is that I'm selling you, you'd probably buy them both. Actually, most people I sold this to bought both CrowdStrike and Palo Alto Networks because they're actually complementary products. We're talking endpoint and we're talking network security too. Like I said, two different layers.
You think there's enough kind of diversification in cybersecurity where some of those investors were frustrated enough to just go for a maybe monopolistic product like Palantir and just go long AI in general?
I think it's a growth investor. Right. If that makes sense. So someone that's really into the growth segment, right? Someone who's like, if you are in CrowdStrike for the growth, you can't look at what's going on and say it's going to hold the same kind of growth rate. It's just not. Where I was going with that story was that as a Palo Alto executive or an account manager, I can tell you firsthand, it's this easy. I pick up the phone, I say, hey, Amit, I know you had these issues with CrowdStrike. You're already buying Palo Alto Networks from me. Do you want me to flip on a license and add it to your monthly bill? Simple as that. No sales cycle, no nothing. As opposed to like SentinelOne, I'd have to be like, hey, do you want to meet with these SentinelOne guys? We'll spin up a meeting, give you a point of like a proof of concept. We'll test out the product. We'll go through this 6-9 month sales cycle. It's not a quick thing, but right. Palo Alto is very quick. So I think in terms of cybersecurity, that is what you're seeing here, this rebound, because this is best of breed in what they do, right? Network operations, network security. What I would say is they're a big company. They're like, this is a great company too. It's a great stock also, but I would go Palo Alto for a lot of the easy pickups on the CrowdStrike from a business perspective. And then Palantir on the market perspective, the growth investors that are, they can't get behind the CrowdStrike story, but they still want a company with solid growth. You're looking at Palantir for those type of metrics.
So let me ask you this question about Palantir, if we can go back to that. The $46 call for Jan 2025 is paying $1 in premiums. So the 46.
Well, you're selling.
Selling the call for the $46
yeah, so when
call.
you say paying, that means you're selling, right?
Yeah. So here's my question to you. I was talking with a couple of people today. Do you think that premium justifies the risk to reward? Because I think it's pretty hard to say Palantir is 46 in 4 months and does another 50% move. Or do you think
what date? What series is it?
January 2025.
So
because I was talking to a couple of friends who were selling covered calls way out until January 2025 because $1 is a hell of a premium for the risk you're taking.
46.
Yeah, and we're at $30.30 right now.
Those are all sold.
But what I'm saying is, would you sell that call on your shares on Palantir?
No.
Okay, so that leads me to my question. Do you think there's a path to the 40s by the end of the year from a technical perspective?
Yeah, I think this is when you come into like, and I'll tell you why I wouldn't is because like earlier volatility was really high. Right now, I can tell you that when you look at options, volatility is crucial, right? Understanding price action is literally 50% of what's important. It's only half of the importance here when you're talking about trading, specifically for options. The other half is understanding how options work and when things are expensive, when things are not. So what I was saying earlier today is this day where we got the VIX back under 20. We got long dated contracts finally coming back into like contango, if you will. And, there's the IV percentile. So when you rank volatility against itself, so you rank Palantir's volatility against itself for that day, that it was really low, it's all good. But the options chain is at the 30th percentile. It's really not high because Palantir's kind of been at this $30 level for a while. So while it looks like, yeah, it's a lot of dollars. I I
It's
wouldn't.
possible is what you're saying. Even the move, it's a crazy move, but even getting to 30 was a pretty great. I mean, the stock
It's
was
not
at
a crazy.
16.
So this is what's weird. It's not that crazy when a stock at a $30 price point, stocks get really wild. Look, I'm up like 40% on Palantir Commons, right, in like a week and a half. So, you know, it's possible that you do get like a really big explosion here. But I don't, you know, and from a trading perspective, you don't really have to be right you don't have to hold to expiration or be in the money to make money. You just need to get like, specifically with that kind of time, when you know that they're a little bit less expensive, you can do all kinds of things. You can sell short dated vol against it or short dated options. I'm just looking at this. This is, that specific series for whatever reason is like the least expensive series.
Yes, it is one of the most expensive. We hit 45 in Jan 2021. But that's when, you know, interest rates were 0 and things were crazy. So if we explore that again, it would be a totally different company getting to that level.
Yeah, it looks like they were sold. Let me check this. I'm just looking at the order book right now.
The volume on that one was 2,000 contracts today.
Yeah, I don't have a clear picture right now. You know, in general, look, you got 306,000 calls, 140,000 puts. Most of the chain looks like it's going to the upside, but it's not in long dated paper, if that makes sense. Like I'm seeing mostly short dated expirations coming out. September 40 calls. Yeah, you got somebody picking up 1,000 lot. These are cheap, $15 a piece. Looks like you might have some credit spread traders selling some 29, buying some 32s. That actually makes, or that's a time spread. Sorry, selling some short dated 29s, buying some longer dated 32s. Interesting stuff.
Okay, can we do Tesla because of the move?
So Tesla today, I bought it. I bought Tesla options, man. So
okay, you know, what strike and what date, if you don't mind?
September 20th, 240s.
Interesting.
So we still have Robotaxi Day ahead of us. I think, you know, this was the same kind of level, 190, that we just kind of rocket shipped off of, for 190 and change. If we're going to come back in and we break back below this 198 right now, I'm just going to tell you right now, like, this is probably not going to hold, right? Like, we're probably going to see new lows on Tesla if this does break. But what that means is that I have a very tight risk to reward ratio, if that makes sense. So that means that my stop here is going to be 195. I think below 195, this is going to get ugly because these investors are not going to be sticking around, or these traders are not going to be sticking around necessarily, especially if they just bought it. They're probably going to be selling some and getting out of the way. For now, what I'm looking at is we're looking at really like this lower volume shelf, like around one, like this last cluster, if this makes sense, right in here. And we looked back before. We were talking about 206 being super crucial. Look, if you're going to 206, we're not going to hold. Like that's gotta happen. And it did go down. I was not long today, and I had actually picked up a little bit yesterday, but ended up closing 2 days ago. Ended up closing yesterday. Just reopened today. But it's this. Let me see this guy right here. I'm going to take this red box off for just a minute. So it's this 205.30 right now that it's dealing with right here. So as long as this is over here, I definitively have an idea that this is going to go up and at least test the bottom of this trend line, this long outstanding downtrend. Like, make no mistakes, Tesla, after this fail here, he's back in a downtrend. But it's not completely breaking down. So for me, the risk reward to take a contract, to take a trade long, at least to test the top of this downtrend, that's going to put me somewhere around 220, and a purchase this morning just under 200 or just around 200. That's going to be plenty of profit for me to start taking out of the gate before it gets to 240.
And if I'm looking for move to 220 to start exiting the position.
So what I do, this thing called like a safety trim. So I'll probably be double here, right? If we do get there, and I'm gonna take like all of my principal out and probably a little bit of profit, and then watch it and see it. As long as it can reclaim this downtrend that is holding so far, if it can do some kind of price action like this. So if you're not in it, that's fine. It's not like a big deal, but that's still my strike. This becomes, it's going to be this right here. Another kind of order block. It's that 217. So let's say you missed it, and let's say it explodes, next week, and it gets up to 230 or so, and it starts to pull back. But if it pulls back and it holds 217, it's still a long. And that's where like I would end up selling some here, and then I'd be looking for this to hold, and I'd probably buy some more back.
And now when you say if it holds 217, it's still a long, the technical reasoning is because it's at
long
a
means
level?
Like it's going up, right?
No, I know. But the reason you're saying it's still a long at 217 is because it's hitting a support. Is that why?
So it becomes this. Yeah. So it's a, what do you call this? Dynamic support, right? So it's this broken downtrend. So typically what happens when you break through these, what you call like wedges, is they go up, and then you get this moment of inflection right here where it actually really goes up. But more often than not, that first impulse is actually a short. And most retail traders, unfortunately, see this and they're like, oh, it's going to stay up. But if you trade with me or our crew, like this is most of the time, this first breakout is a short. And what you want to see is it come back and retest the top of this broken downtrend. I'll show you another one just today, right? Super similar.
By the way, guys, this Futbucker comment, Google's down 1.5% because of this right now.
This is Chipotle. There's one trade here. It's going. And then this test. So you see this kind of go up. It's a broken downtrend, but this morning's Chipotle news, actually I did buy this today. Right here is
Chipotle. Okay.
Yeah. Is a perfect retest of this. Is an example of what could be happening, right? Gotcha. You get this move up, you take it long. We were actually long, started trimming. And then this right here is like, you look at it and you're like, oh, could actually be like the opportunity, and you zoom in a little bit, there it is, right? So now, as long as Chipotle is actually holding this kind of box right here, I think that sell-off is a little bit overdone. I think people buy this up. Honestly, this is another one where, look, I haven't had a chance to really own this in a long time. I'm always the guy waiting for like another food poisoning incident that never comes. So I'm like, all right, we'll start.
You just had a CEO leave instead. That was your opportunity.
Yeah. He did a good job, but the CEO is still there. I think the company's still there. Starbucks, yeah, what a move. That's crazy.
So before Starbucks, quick question on Tesla. Someone said I could have sworn you were bearish 2 weeks ago, which I think you were. But things
Target
changed.
Acquired though. So I'm a trader, right, guys? I'm not a bull and I'm not a bear. Let's get that straight, right? So
why is that such a bar, bro? I'm not a bull. I'm not a bear. I'm a trader.
I'm not a bull. I'm not a bear, right? It's one of those things where like it's just people put you in this category. I don't know. They think that if they think that you're a permeable, right, then they think you're always short things. But I like go in and out with the market, right? Like you watch me, come trade with me. We're live on Spaces every day, right? Come in the server. Where you can actually see our trades every day. We're up and down, right? I actually came in to the day today short, net short a lot of things like Google. I was net short. And this is my concern right now in the market. And I did see Hood. I will get to Hood. I think if Amit, did you put your post out yet of what the expectations are? I think it's going to be a big one for Hood tomorrow.
No, but I didn't even know I had to do that post. Thank you for reminding me. I'll make that. I'll tell you it live, but I'll make the post in a little bit. So
fine. I came in to the day short Google. That didn't work. I got out like just barely, like small red, nothing crazy. But the market's in this exact situation where we're looking at. This is where we started to break down, right here. Right. This was prior support. Broken. Now we're coming up and we're retesting it. This is 165, give or take. And we have on Google, you have what we call like a session gap right here. I don't remember. It was probably that Black Monday. But this is kind of where the market is to me. It's a very funky spot where it's like, look, everything looks like it's starting to recover. but it's recovered to a point where it's like, ooh, this is where, if you're a good bull, you need to know where the bears are going to step in. If you want to be a good bear, you need to know where the bulls are going to step in, right? This is where the bears would really start stepping in. It's like, I'm a little hesitant to get really long. So I want to see what happens tomorrow and Thursday, really, with the jobs report, because that was a wild reaction last week. But yeah, I think Google, look, it's not like broken anything. It's not like down. This is just still consolidation. And this is what we would call like a bear flag, right? So when you have this kind of chop to the upside, a lot of times this looks like this. We actually breach it just a little bit, come back down, and it fails heavily. People like to trade patterns. I'm only going to show you guys the patterns that are real. This is really how it works, just like that. So if you think like it's going to go, just be careful. That's where you want to be taking profits, not like what the, YouTubers, sorry, no offense to me, but like the other people would tell you. You're muted, by the way. Right.
Can we do Starbucks? And and then we'll do some more after this. But can you explain to me if in your experience, does a stock deserve to be up 25% on a CEO change?
Well, this one, probably.
Why?
But you probably got a lot of people exiting positions too. For the longest time, Starbucks was one of the ugliest looking charts in the market, right? Like this looks like death. On a weekly basis. Does this chart not look like it's going to fall apart like tomorrow? No. This is what it looked like a couple of days ago. And so I think a lot of people were probably short the name. So you're probably getting a little bit of a squeeze here. You're probably getting, some net new investors. But now, yeah, you're right. Up 20%, something it's like, okay, you're going to have to think about this for a second. So quite frankly, I think that Starbucks goes into a holding pattern. I would be like a net seller. These are the moments where I actually would look at this and be like, okay, I think elevated volatility is going to give you an opportunity to sell some covered calls and puts at the same time, right? Because I don't think this really, like you might get a day or two continuation. And so what I'll do here, so this is just this from this last high to these last lows. And I'm using fibs, like a fib retracement. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. A lot of the larger traders are going to have that. It's going to be up to basically 100. So you're going to run into $100 psychological resistance. You're not quite there. It's kind of getting sucked up into that. 102.96 is what we call a fair value gap. So whatever happened here, this big candle on the weekly that had flushed down. So it's possible that you see Starbucks actually continue to chop a little bit. 93 is going to be a big deal. You might see this, and then you might see this, and then I would expect, boom, whole lot of nothing. Quite frankly, I would not be pressing bets on this, but I would give this like after you get a little bit of move, I would expect like 3 weeks or so of consolidation. But let me show you where.
Let me ask a real quick question. On a move like this, should you ever be thinking, hey, I should buy puts because this is unsustainable, or should you give this move a lot of credit?
No, you should never be thinking that. Back to, unless it's very short dated, back to the earlier comment about if you had calls during the Black Monday sell-off event, you probably noticed that you weren't down that much because volatility went up. Even though the stock is going in the wrong direction, it's the same thing. When you have a big move like this, all the options are elevated, both the calls and the puts. So to think that, puts are a great play here because it's up too much, they're overpriced, right? If you bought VIX puts or UVXY puts at $65, I'll tell you, you didn't make any money. Even though it's down like 60, 70%, you didn't make any money, most likely because they were so expensive. So anyway, so what I was saying on this, so Starbucks here, you're into a pretty big level. I think that this little box here. So this is a weekly scale, by the way. I'm looking at here. So you have this little consolidation right in here, ends up being a little bit of support. So you can see some downside to like 93s. So when you say, can it go down a little bit, can you buy puts? It's like if you see it breaking below 95, can you buy a 94 put at the shortest dated expiration and take profit at 93? Yeah, you probably can and make some money. Or like, can you see it? Can you grab a 95 put, something like that? Very close to the money, like, and just get in and out. You can make money. It's not that you're not going to make money. It's like you're not going to make as much as you probably should.
But buying like a $75 put for January 2025, that makes no sense to you yet.
No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, someone bought 80s.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't believe in this move because they don't think the CEO is good enough to increase the.
So if you really don't believe in this move, what I would say the right thing to do is to sell upside calls. You sell like some $100 calls, right? That's where your edge is going to come.
Got it. Okay, let's do Robinhood and give me your thoughts after earnings and the move that the stock really didn't make that we wanted after earnings.
I mean, earnings, like the report was great, right? I think that it was missing July, right? If that report included July, it might have been like
so it
crazy.
Technically did. You know, they talked about July on the transcript.
I know they talked about it, and they said that if we did include July, we would be like, it almost, I don't remember the exact words, but it sounded like double.
They said trading volumes were 20% higher in July.
20% higher. Okay. So trading volumes are 20% higher, but that's commentary. It's not going to catch like the AI trading bots or anything like that. So I think that tomorrow when we get the release, yeah, I like that. So I'm going to compare this Hood moment to Google, and I'll say what's different, right? So Hood, here's that session gap that we had from Black Monday, right? We're actually all the way over it, as opposed to Google, right? Where we're not over. See how we're not over that trouble spot. This might get bought up, but the truth is we're not over it. On Hood, not Hood, we are. And
we're over a session gap is what you said on Hood?
Yeah, so this is the Black Monday.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So we've reclaimed everything and then some from that Monday sell-off, basically from the Friday prior's low.
Got it.
So at this point, we were holding here. So I was looking today, knowing that they're going to release some of this data, and I'm looking right here at these kind of like top wicks. This is actually going to be Thursday's open, Friday's high, Monday's low, and I was looking to pick these up somewhere right in here. So I grabbed some calls at the close, literally at the close. So for me, this is like short dated. It's got to go. You can pull this back to this Friday pivot right in here. And this is where we get very like ultra precision on certain things like order blocks, stuff like that. This is a little bit more advanced price action technicals, but we're looking for same concept, but on a very smaller scale where the buyers and sellers were stepping in and closing. So this is last Friday on the 2nd of August before the sell-off. This is right here where that level is defending 1831. We closed over it today. So I'm looking at that as where do we want to see this kind of bounce and defend this uptrend? 1831. So today at the close, yeah.
So let me ask you this question. Monster earnings, it was missing the July data. Yeah, the earnings were great. July data wasn't there. Bank of America upgrades to $32. Is there any truth to the fact that the market makers wanted to hold down the stock so that options wouldn't go in the market?
No. Okay, so the market makers aren't the boogeymen, right? Market makers are not the boogeymen. They could care less what a retail trader's position is. That's not how this works, right? That's not how the real market works, right? Market makers don't even look at the price of the stock. They're sitting there on their machines, like bidding up and down. They don't even know how much things are costing. They're changing their bids by volatility. They're increasing, decreasing volatility when they're actually matching the market. They might have some actual positions on, but they always have to be hedged, net hedged, right? Or maybe some small like skew, but it's not anything crazy.
So your reason for why Hood didn't go up and have a move after earnings is literally just the July data is missing. That's your thesis.
Yeah, it was good, but it could have been really great, right? And I think, if this July data comes out and the market catches it, Hood has a tendency to, stall in between these reports and then makes a big move when it releases that monthly user data, right? It's kind of like Costco, or Tesla will announce their monthly deliveries, things like that. And in between those times, it doesn't really do a whole lot. Right.
Yeah,
and until you have this catalyst, and then, okay, boom, the stock gets re-rated more or less.
Right.
So
one quick thing, Jason, though, when I ask you, is the market maker manipulating the market, and you say no, that's exactly what a market maker puppet would say. So just make sense of your bias.
Sure.
I would trust you a little bit more if you said
I'm
yes.
just gonna be real with you guys. It's not really. So there's a difference between a market maker and a hedge fund. Hedge funds are different. Market makers are just sitting there clicking buttons, doing a job, right? A hedge fund, that's a different deal, right? So maybe it's terminology. Who knows? But if there's a large fund out there or a large position trader, that could be different. But in regards to why Hood didn't go up, I just think it was the market sentiment in general, right? We're still dealing with, is there a recession, right? And you and I have never been in this camp. And then I think the market had to definitely throw that whole argument away last Thursday on the jobs data, which is why we saw a big giant move on it. But and then you have this yen carry trade. Nobody knows if it's fully unwound or not. Now it sounds like it's about 75% unwound, something like that. So probably most of the bad is gone. You and I have been in the camp for the most part that the majority of the downside is done. To me, I'm just still hesitant because I think there could be one more. But it's not like I'm going to go sell anything. I don't think anybody should go sell anything. It's more like I can hedge positions. Stay long, but be hedged in certain items. But also, here's my shopping list. And when we talked last Thursday on the spaces, and you asked me what's my portfolio look like, I actually said I've mostly already been hedged at the time last Thursday, and I was looking to unwind those hedges. And so now I've unwound the majority of the hedges, and I have some extra cash. Then now it's like, what do I want to start deploying? And I think if you have some active traders out there, they might be in that same position where they might have made some money on this downturn and are now looking to unwind those short positions or short hedges and redeploy some of that net new capital.
Right. Okay, can we do Disney? That's one that people are asking for a lot.
The mouse.
Are you long this one at all?
Is it a mouse trap? I actually bought equity. I think this is one where it's better to sell puts here. So there's a difference when you look at a stock and you're like, okay, it's not going down anymore. You look at a stock and it may not look like it's going down anymore, but that doesn't mean it's going up. Disney is not looking, is this right? This Disney is looking not so good. Almost like Starbucks, right? Like did before an activist came in. I would not be surprised if we saw another activist come in on Disney and see this freaking stock explode. But here's what we're gonna do. So from the lows to the highs, I am long Disney. Let's see if I can pull this up for a couple reasons. I think fundamentally I think that box office rating estimates have been going up a lot. It's not that Disney gets a lot of love from that, but I think that was that could be a bit of a driver. I feel like the majority of the bad news is really priced in. So I think it's peak bad news on Disney, and there's not a lot of good news on this one. Let me see what I had. Let's try to grab this. Yeah, peak. This was just around 90 right in here, and we're under 90. Box. I didn't write the technicals here. We had a big flush. I think this was a big part of it. When there were those activists in the position, it might have looked like Disney should have been going up, but it wasn't, and it was getting sold off mostly because I think a lot of the people that were in the stock, large funds. I forgot what the name of the fund was. Do you remember? Try and fund, right? Try and fund here.
Yes. Yes.
Was liquidating, right? So that we had a lot of selling pressure. I think this is over, right? So him and Nelson Peltz sold the 115s. Yeah. What's up, Chris? I think, Peltz and Peltz's fund, the Try and Fund, were like a large part of what's going on here. And again, peak bad news. Disney, I think while it might be done going down, clearly it went down again. It got some pops here. It's just at one of these levels where, and I'm going to take this right here. So the way this is going to work, and if you want to be a sniper when it comes to trading, there are a couple of things you want to do. When we always talk about highs and lows, if this is the last low, so where's the point where where's the lowest low that this could actually end up getting to without being like a complete short? There's two low areas. It's actually this, like way down here, right? 80, but ideally 84, right?
Right.
So we're going to call this 84 a price of interest. And then this has got to be a stop, because this is, if it's below 79, it's going down. How far down? It's hard to say. The thing about this is, like, Disney has wicked in its history a few times to the sub 80 level. I don't think that it gets that bad, but when it does start to get down here, Disney has a tendency to get really ugly and then start to rebound. So way down here in this lowest liquidity, sub 90, down to 80, I think is where you can start to be picking it up. At 85, I'm like, I could add, but I'm not really convinced that it's going to explode to the upside yet. I'd actually be more comfortable buying it over 90 than I would 80, if that makes sense.
No, that makes
sense. I know
that makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you a question. The fundamental reason why I wouldn't touch Disney is because they reported in their parks segment that the consumers are weak. In Q3, that's not going to.
They also had a strike too. That was over.
Yeah, they had a strike. They did raise prices, but I think in Q3 the rate cut is not going to make the consumer stronger for Disney parks. So, like, do you have any fundamental thesis on Disney, or is it purely technical as you're looking at it?
It's fundamental in terms of, like, at this point when I did buy it right here, it was fundamentally, the strikes they just hit. To me, I look at, someone says there's a strike, I look at that as a temporary situation. It's not going to stay around, right? It's a temporary thing. It's not going to hold the stock down super long term. But at the same time, I was seeing box office estimates climb across the board. So there's a little bit of good news, and I saw, like, massive exodus by all of the activists, right? So to me, it's more like peak bad news. We're in the area where I want to get interested again. I haven't had it for a while. I sold it. We had a 120 price target on this before when we bought it down here. Can it get down here again? Maybe, but it's at this point, I think it's more of like, it's like this. If I'm already long the stock, do I want to get longer the stock? The only trade for me in that situation is to sell puts and not buy the actual equity, if that makes sense. So that would probably look like selling an $85 put. If I really wanted to get long the stock, I would look at probably like September monthly expiration, potentially, like, and I could sell an $85 put for September and collect about $200. That gives me an $83 cost basis. Maybe it gets there, maybe it doesn't. But, like, would I be willing to buy it at 83? That's about it. If it's going up though, which it's not, this is more of like, okay, here's a level. If you want to buy it now thinking that it's going to go up, well, the chart doesn't support that, to be fair. Right. I think it's more of like, you're at a level, you're anticipating a move. Yeah. Disney is just not sexy. I don't disagree. Right. But is it cheap? For sure. And it's like one of those, if the whole market does turn around, this could be, it could be Intel. You never know. Right. So it's your time horizon. It's always your time horizon. Are you buying this for your children, or are you buying this for a quick flip? Does that make sense?
The funny thing about that is, like, I don't know, maybe I'll have kids in 10 years. I don't know if Disney's relevant in 10 years. Like, I really don't believe Mickey Mouse matters in 10 years, bro. I don't know.
Then buy
Like,
some Netflix, right? Or buy whatever, right? I
yeah,
think
yeah.
you know, you could say that a lot about a lot of stuff, right? That's always the risk, right? You know, my dad had a bunch of AOL, right? You bought
All right,
Netscape,
fair.
right? You buy Yahoo, and these were the best of the best, and they don't even exist anymore. So, I mean, of all the stocks, Disney has been around for over 100 years. So, the professor
Dude,
from
so
Money Heist.
someone has called me the professor from Money Heist before. I've been called that before. Okay,
Dude.
can you tell me why Nvidia is up $200 billion in market cap in the past 2 days?
Because they have earnings coming.
That's the only reason
And-
we're seeing this run?
And Supermicro did have a good report, and Dell's coming, and we have AMAT tomorrow or Thursday. So we had this level kind of like back retest. At this point, this is exactly kind of like, ooh, scary situation for a net new entry on NVIDIA for me. If I want to do it, I see upside, but I don't know
Why is it
how much.
scary? What technically, why is it scary?
So again, if I'm going to be a good bull, right, I have to know where the bears are going to step in, right? So if this is your last high and this is the low, the bears step in heavy right here in this kind of retracement, and they are the heaviest in here. 120. Remember, 123 is a crucial level. 123. So I think it's possible that NVIDIA gets to 123. It's literally 123. And then you really have to see, right? So 123, we talked about it before. It is kind of like this hidden order block right here. 1, 2, 3. All of this right in here. It's crucial. Over this 50%. So from swing high, swing low. If you are over this 50% kind of threshold, the probability of you actually getting to that 618 is actually really high. So, like I said, I think it can get to that 123. And then you have to like stop, wait, and see what's going to happen. But that in this kind of area right here, that's going to be your overhead, what we call resistance. And what you're going to want to see is, does NVIDIA have the momentum from the rest of the market to get up through that overhead resistance? I think you could buy this down here. I don't think you need to trim this here. I think you just wait and see. This is a situation here where it's like net new money long is high risk with medium reward. Down here, high risk, high reward. I think that trade is good as happening. But to get net new long again, you really need to see like it's got to be very short dated for options. But if you're, again, if we're talking about investing, different deal. But this 50% retracement, we're going to call it 115 just for like looking at this order block. I think this level, as long as you're continuing to set higher highs and higher lows from here, it's all good. It's when you put in a new low or you start to potentially get into areas where you could be putting in a lower high. That's what you need to be concerned about. And so like, why am I concerned about NVIDIA here now? Where a lower high would show up could be at 118, like at tomorrow's open. So if this is the last high in this downtrend, so lower high, lower low, lower low, lower high, lower lows, high, higher high. Now we've changed character. We call it character change. But if this broader consolidation is still valid, the area where where the bears are going to be, it would be right around this kind of setup.
If they crush Q2 and they show Q3 guidance is exceptional, do you think technically the stock is primed to rip on a good report like they did last time?
Yeah. I mean, and like rip.
Like, is there a world where they crush earnings, but the stock's like whatever?
Oh, most likely, actually, because it's gonna. A lot of these are more like there are a lot of read throughs on things like this. And again, here's that downtrend too. So if it pops up, comes to that 123, it might be this is where, yeah, near term, cool, but you got to be careful of this. Right. So you don't want, basically we're in a spot where you don't want to get caught over leveraged long to get the rug pulled out from under you and then sell everything and then turn around 3 days later and it have been like and be like, I shouldn't have sold. That's the situation where I think we're in. Like it could go up and then it dumps and you're down and you're like, oh crap. And then you sell for a loss and then you walk away because you're so frustrated. And then the following week it's way higher and you're like, I shouldn't have sold. That's the situation that we're in right now. So I don't think, and I think every trader has that moment, right? Every trader has gone through those situations. So I would just say it's a little weird spot. So maybe still just kind of like see how things play out through Wednesday, Thursday. In the meantime, kind of like put the day trade hat on for a little bit and not think about like broader trends. Cause it was a big move. We've come off a big move. I think we're still kind of in that, like, where do we consolidate? And you don't want to be that person where it's like, you get caught over leveraged long, sell for a loss, turn around a couple days later, be like, I shouldn't have sold. I think that's where we're going to be. So,
right. Okay. Can we do SOFI quickly and then the S&P? Cause I know a lot of people are thinking about that. SOFI, it's not finding love over 7 after that August 5th flush out. It's kind of stayed flushed out.
Yeah, well, so it's the same. So these are mid caps or small caps. I think this cohort of stocks is the show me time tomorrow, right? So I think tomorrow, and do you have the rest of the calendar? We can look at the rest of the calendar.
Yeah. Tomorrow's what, the 14th for earnings tomorrow?
No, so tomorrow we have
CPI. Oh, you're on the Fed calendar. Okay.
This is September.
Yeah, we have CPI. Today we have PPI, which is good. Tomorrow we have CPI. That's the big one.
Yeah. So CPI, I think it's still, we saw the jobs data reaction. That's going to be big, right? This still goes to, we've pulled back maybe some of those rate cuts that were priced into the market. But at the same time, it's like, if we get inflation tomorrow, we got great PPI today, by the way, right? Actual coming in against a 2.2% consensus. By the way, guys, I don't know how much Amit covers on this fundamental economic data stuff. What moves markets is very similar to earnings. It's not what things were compared to prior. It's what things come in at compared to consensus. When you look at these calendars, consensus means, and think about it this way, consensus means what the market is currently priced for, right? So if the consensus was 0.2 for a PPI, headline PPI, and it comes in at 0.1, well, the market has to shift for that, right?
It's like earnings estimates. It has to be.
It's exactly like earnings estimates. It's not about what they were compared to prior. It's all about forecast, right? And so the forecast was, and what happened. Simple,
which is why I was afraid about Robinhood, dude, because they upped the
that was my biggest concern. I DM'd you. I was like, "What do you think about this, dude?" I didn't. These earnings estimates.
When did the street expect they were going to do 640? Then Vlad's like, "We did 680," and I was like, "What?"
I know, right? So this is where we are tomorrow, right? So tomorrow, so we have, do you cover like headline core? All these. So where it says core, that doesn't include things that you actually use, like food and whatever. And then the headline is just everything. But so tomorrow consensus is 0.2, right? PPI is more like leading indicator, more or less, where you assume, are the producers going to pass this down to the consumers? Maybe not. That's really the question. But core inflation.
Give me your headline number. What do you think it comes in at? I think it's 2.8. What do you think?
You think higher?
On that? No, I think it's lower because the headline is market's expecting 3%. It was 3% last time.
Oh, you're talking about year over year, 2.9
year over year. Yeah.
Yeah. So headline, I would actually go into this. What are we doing? So what we're going to drop off is 0.2. So if we come in at 0.1, yeah, you're going to be at 0.28. That's exactly what you're going to land at. If you come in at 0, then you're going to be landing about 0.27. And then what happens if you get a 0%? So and you can get negative. So last month we got a negative, right? So, it's going to be weird. And then the following month we're losing a 0.5, right? And then 0.4. So, the trend is down. Tom Lee looks to be right from this economic perspective. It's just about the price action. Did it front run? Is it still on? I think it's still on. And from here, after we get this CPI tomorrow, then we're going to get jobs data on Thursday, which is jobs data. I've never seen jobs data move the market the way it did last week.
Yeah,
so
that was
assume that if we get another jobless claims that is market moving, it's possible. We also get retail sales, I believe.
And that's a big one because that lets us know if the consumer, it was flat in July. So
I think it may not be a big market moving event, but you do want to pay attention to it. But anyways, where was I going with this? I think, once we're done with this, we look to Jackson Hole, right? And then I think the market starts to have this, the market likes to front run a lot of this data, just like we've seen so far, right? So I think you get that kind of front run rally where they're initially getting there, and it probably becomes another sell and use event, which is right into Jacksonville, right into September. So,
and then the implication of that for SOFI, because that's the one we're talking here.
Okay.
Because I think if we get a good CPI, SOFI.
It's tired of me getting on this tangent here.
No, but it makes sense because all of that is relevant for SOFI.
Yeah. So I think we're right here. Look, if small caps catch a bid, this is more like the lenders, right? I don't know. Is there any data since we last covered it?
No, not really. They introduced small business banking via American Express partnerships. That's the tangible piece of news from last week.
So Uptown Dunk says SoFi wants me to refinance my student loans. I think this is when I say the lenders, I think this becomes crucial. As rates start to come down, who's going to really benefit? It's the people that are able to take advantage of those refis. So if SoFi is able, look, SoFi is a bank to me, guys. If SoFi is able to capture a lot of those refis, I think that's good for them, right? They can actually they can do well with that. So I think here we're right back to this base. This is similar to Tesla. You get a little bit higher. I think this becomes that day trade type thing back to 750, and hopefully continuing on. But SoFi. It's a funky stock, man. I like the stock here now. I like the stock here now from a potential, multi-bagger, even on equity, for a longer term, medium term perspective, right? 6 to 9 months, maybe. So your risk reward is actually pretty good here on SoFi, to be completely fair. So I think it gets back to right in the 750s area. If $1 is good enough for you to trade on, that's up to you, right? But net, this is another one where it's it may not be going down anymore, but the weekly says it's probably time to start going up, but it doesn't have to be right now. It can actually, what can happen on a lot of these? Yes, you have this downtrend. You can actually see some of this kind of chop, and then you get another consolidation, and you'd like to see this type of scenario most likely. Right. So it's going to be that first pop through, probably a little fade, pull back, maybe a little bit lower high, equal lows, and then you're probably off into an earnings run up, if that makes sense. And this trajectory actually makes the most sense to me. Something very much like this into earnings.
Can we do Celsius quick before the S&P? Actually,
I like Celsius.
Have you bought at this level?
I bought this morning. This is cosmic vibe. I don't know why my camera doesn't focus. Anyways, I bought this morning. I bought the other day. Yeah, I've been buying, actually. I've been accumulating here. This is my first buy, equity buy. And small options. It got a little bounce, didn't hold, quick close. But here, this was when we first talked. Did we talk about 35? You guys know I said 35 Celsius, but here we are. I think your gap is kind of held. This maybe gets a Starbucks thing, because I think they have something going on with Starbucks. But I think this. I like Celsius at 45 and I like it at 35 for a longer term kind of setup. So I like it in this box. The closer to the bottom of the box, the more I like it. I don't really like it much lower. I wouldn't add below 35, if that makes sense. But I would be happy to add over 45. But in here, I think this 35 level ends up being kind of like where you want to be picking up the stock, actually.
So from a technical, you don't see it going below 35-ish, or it could, but you don't see it.
No. It really could. And if it does, it's like all bets are off. Shit. Like then at that point, it's like it's a really broken chart. If that happens.
Right.
Then you kind of have to like throw away your thesis, because what would be like, because the chart would be telling me that something is wrong with my fundamental thesis.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, S&P. So you got Dan Niles, who's saying we're not going to bottom until September on this bad boy, and he thinks it would be healthy to see a bottom again. Are you in that camp? And what do you think the technical
technically you have to be in that camp? Why? From a technical perspective. So we talked about this. I'm going to take some of these lines off for just a minute. So this is where we are here. And when I said like, hey, if you're going to be a good bull, needs to know where the bears are going to step in. The bears are going to step in hot and heavy on you right here. And so like, this is where it gets funky, right? This is this is called a golden zone retracement. So swing high, swing low. And again, self-fulfilling prophecies on these Fibonacci's. It's very similar to like your 200-day simple moving average and whatnot, and 50-day simple moving average. They're self-fulfilling because like literally all the large funds are using this on these the ones that I'm showing you. Take this off, sorry. So you're coming into a 50-day here, like 50-day simple moving average. Sorry, I have these offset a little bit. And the 20-day right in here. So what we know is that these are getting really tight and you're smack dab in the middle of them right now. So tomorrow's data could push us through this pretty impulsively. It's very possible. But at that point, I would actually like, again, it's this moment where it's like you kind of got to exit stage left. We can have what we have like a blow off top. And where's the highest like spot where a higher low can show up, or a lower high? Sorry. So the highest spot a lower high can show up is 550s.
That's what I thought. I thought 550 is that level that we're looking for, right?
552s, yeah. So if you see 552 happen, and I'm just kind of going to zoom in on this right here. If you see something like this or like this, either way, that's when you want to be really cautious. And that would look like that. That's like you get a little breach and a big pop, and then in a morning flush, right? Same thing here. You get to a level, little breach and a morning sell off over 550. That's probably like throw the hedges on, if that makes sense. And then you're really looking for a higher low to show up at that point in time. And so like, this is where I'm saying this is, where the higher low could really show up. If this does breach, let's say it breaches, it would end up being something like that. So whatever happens on this press, if we get this from a data perspective this week, I just don't know that it holds, or next week. And it probably should come back down a little bit and start to base out ideally, and then continue on. So it's, again, this is, like I said, with whatever stock that was, NVIDIA, you don't want to get like, this is a point where you can be kind of peeling off like extra overweight longs. I would never sell Leafs tradesman. Appreciate it though. But it's one where like ideally we make a new high. I don't want to buy a breakout in this market. I want to buy a retest. So if we do get a new high, great. It's all good. Then you're definitively looking to get long on the next higher low, right? Which would end up being higher than where we are today. If that does happen, it would probably be ended up like somewhere around where we closed today.
Right. So you would like to see it go to like 560-ish, 555, then come back down to 530-ish for a buy.
560 is too high, right? Like, I don't think it gets there.
Because that's the all-time high. So when you said make a new high.
Yeah. So like what I was talking about is this area right here. So we've already gotten a new high from this perspective. So this is that last high. So if you're getting down high, higher low, it's a long. It's a weird long, very weird long. And now you're going up to right into resistance. So I think my point is that the long trades from here are more or less hitting their profit targets. And so we're at a point at the market where the next move is going to happen. The next move might be consolidation, but it's okay. Let's start to lighten up on my leverage, pull back my leverage here, start to get flat. We call flat, right?
Yeah.
And look for the next trade to come. So the next trade might be like a pop and fail into this area. And I just don't want to be like stuck too deep into that. Whereas I did have. So here's what I would say is that we have, it might not even be this high. I think you're right. I think it's 550s, right?
Yeah.
And so this, let me take some of these lines off.
By the way, I'm watching a show called Prison Break, and there's a guy. Are you watching because I recommended it?
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
No, I'm watching it because I haven't seen it, and it got listed on Netflix the other day.
Okay, well, there's a guy named Fibonacci in the show.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to say anything because you're watching it, but he's like he's a character that matters. So
yeah. So you remember talking about these NFP levels? I think today's close was important. So this was that last Friday's. So this is last Friday's NFP range, right? We were below it. Today we got an open below but close above. If we can hold through tomorrow, like if we pull back a little bit tomorrow and hit this 539, I think that probably holds. But there's a big trade to be had in this area right here, right? So from 538 to 550, this range is actually gonna get filled like really fast because it blows through this from a price action perspective to the downside quickly. It could be one of those days where it's just like one single session and you get all the way through it. So
do you think we can get back to 507, which is the bottom for the year, or at least for the past couple months, without the VIX spiking again? Or do you think you need a lot of volatility for us to go down another 6%?
No, like if you're below 530, if we don't hold this and then like sometime come September or late August, we're not over 530, it's very probable that we do get that.
Right.
But until now, it's like you want to be net long as of today, right? You want to be net long and with some hedges, if that makes sense. So the higher that we go, you can hedge a little bit. But I would caution to think that we're out of the woods. I couldn't say that we're definitively out of the woods yet.
Got it.
If we do go up there and then we hold 545, we're probably out of the woods through August.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah.
Can we look at Bitcoin and what the hell is going on with that one?
So Bitcoin, we talked about. I think this is that what I call like the infamous Bart Simpson "I caramba," right?
Yeah.
Like this is it. That's what it looks like. And then he comes here. You could get this, and then you could totally get that. I'm dead serious, right? And that would complete the "I caramba." Bitcoin does this all the time, right? It's right here. Look, it's the same thing. You think it's all good, and then push, right?
Yeah.
It does it inverse here, right? You think it's all good, and you wick the lows, and then push to the upside. It's just a repeating. It literally all the time, repeats itself, even on this minuscule type level. This is
Do
how
you, do you,
Bitcoin
do you
trades.
think for us to get a massive move, we need to have a flush out to like 30K or something?
Here's a beautiful ay caramba.
Yeah.
Do I think? No, I think you have. I think to. So as like someone who's really old school crypto, like I think that you need to be realistic that the cohort of current traders here are not the same that we've had over the decades or years or whatever. I think that we had, first of all, we never hit all-time highs pre-halving. We have like actually pretty low liquidity, which was starting to clean up. Like we were getting releases from large exchanges, moving funds around. I think the carry trade was heavily in crypto. So I think a lot of that had to do with it. It's the same thing. What's true right now is that I have this high here, and I posted a video on my X. I have a double top here, which happens to be lower high, right? Lower than this, lower high. You really can't argue that. Here's your last low, lower low, lower high. This low is lower than this low. This high is lower than this high. So you have to look at kind of objectively. Technically, you're having this change of character, right? So where I say character, right? This is starting to kind of like not look so bullish. It's definitively a liquidity event, or not like accumulation event. But what happens is that if this low cannot push it through 72, give or take, then it's going to need to come down even lower to get more buyers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if it makes and that's going to be net good, like the overall, it's going to be good. So this is another one where like, it could break down this weekend. And we could see like a real, these are your simple moving averages. They're really tight. But in typical crypto fashion, I would be more inclined to expect this to happen, and then this, and then rip. Crypto has, they have the crypto summer, the crypto winter. The crypto runs in Q4, right? So this is kind of similar to small cap swing, where this is definitely a next year thing, Q4 into next year. So I still think accumulate. I didn't buy this. It's a very small volume shelf here. I think this 45 level is more important if you get it. I'm not selling. I'm not saying to go never sell, right? But I would say if you're looking for another spot to pick some more up, if you get another flush, this low shouldn't hold. It should be around that 45 type level if it comes. And if it comes, look, it's going to happen in the middle of the night on Saturday when you're sleeping. So just throw an order out if you want it, because you're not going to be awake for it. It'll be at 2 a.m. And that's typical crypto.
So speaking of Bitcoin, I want to look at another stock, but I gotta say something before that. We talked about this stock last week, and you called the company a fraud. And then
was it MSTR?
No, CleanSpark.
Oh no, I called MSTR Ponzi. I didn't call.
Oh yeah, well you called both of them. You basically said both of them are full of shit. And then these motherfuckers delay their earnings.
Oh, did they?
They did indeed.
That's really bad.
It was a bad look. So let me know what you think about CleanSpark, and then what do you think about them delaying?
It's not that so if I were to pick a miner that I like, I would actually prefer CleanSpark over most of them. What I was trying to say is that, look, I'm a crypto guy. These are not crypto, right? Like these are in the stock market. This is part of the stock market. And so, let's say, and we were comparing it to gold, crypto doesn't have earnings that you have to deal with. Even if CleanSpark is printing cash, here's the thing that you really have to understand about it. It's a company, right? It's not a platform. It's a company. And even if they're printing money, let's say they're highly profitable, and let's say that whole bull thesis is correct, what the market has to believe that they're going to put that money to good use, and that the stock price is going to benefit from it. That in this whole cohort of Bitcoin miners is a thesis that you're probably never going to find, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the whole group of them have just had this history of like not doing well. Similar to gold miners. You know, it's not that this company isn't making money. I'm not saying that, right? To be clear. I will say that, hey, look, they're receiving half the Bitcoin that they were making, and if Bitcoin's not going up, then their profits are definitely lower, and we all know that energy prices aren't going lower. So there's that. But the investments with the money that they do make, the market has to believe they're going to put that to good use in order to get like, let's say one of those multiples that are like, anyways, in order for the stock price to go up.
Right.
And they also issued that 250 million or whatever, you know, note. So like, if that becomes your like MO, and we already know that it's the industry's MO, it's a tough sell.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. They become proxies for a time until they're not, right? And this is the risk that you have with any type of miner, is that, you know, the whole group, they'll be proxies for a time, but you always have that earnings risk on the like, it's the margin multiple type risk. What's the market going to give it? Like I said, if I would do anything, I would be in actual crypto, because I don't have that risk in those assets.
Right.
It's like I can see this clean on a blockchain where the flows are going and where they're not.
Right. So even technically, the chart relatively doesn't matter that much to you, just given the fact that it's a tough buy, logically.
Yeah. So like so when it needed to hold this kind of level.
Where is it right now? It's like $10 right now, or 11.
Yeah, dude. When we were talking about this, I mean, it's come down 50% from what we were talking.
Yeah.
And it's not like, look, this is the chart, right? It could have a run if the market starts to love the crypto miners for a while, and Q4 is here and Bitcoin is really ripping. I think you can do this, right, for a trade, and I think this will go up. But what I'm trying to say is that between now and late Q4, it's probably too early, and that between now and then, this thing could fall another 50%.
How do you feel about MicroStrategy then?
I mean, what I did say was that MicroStrategy is a Ponzi, right? I did say that.
But you like Saylor though. You like him, right?
Why?
I'm just asking. Do you like him or no?
No, I mean, I'm indifferent. Wow. I mean, he's a financial genius.
But he's the OG crypto guy. Well, he's not OG, but he's.
I mean, there are a lot of OG crypto people. People in crypto have like really hard, like way out left field type estimates to where, who was it? Who was it talking at the Bitcoin conference? Was like my bear case for crypto was like 100. And I don't even know what it was.
I think he said 46 million or something is his bear case.
Yeah, bear case, right? Like you're gonna hear some wild stuff come out of crypto land, and you know I love them, but I'm more a realist in that sense. Yeah, I mean, MSTR is like, this is the thing, like the market likes MSTR. The storyline is that it's leveraged crypto because they're borrowing probably in yen to buy more Bitcoin, and therefore buying back their stock at the same time to like give you a bigger piece of the pie. So, I mean, look, the company MicroStrategy is done. Right? That company I don't even think that really exists anymore. Does it really exist? When they report earnings, like what are they reporting?
They make about 100 million a quarter off like business subscription revenues that they sell with their BI platform, but that's it.
Yeah. So like that's the risk, I guess. It's become like a shell company for Bitcoin holdings, which we know. The MicroStrategy, the company itself this is another one where it's like you have to trust the CEO. And that there's not some financial shenanigans happening, which technically you know that there are. So if he's rigging it that way, you don't know if it's, hey, look, if you're early to the Ponzi, you're going to make money.
No. Can we look at Snapchat? And
I hope you have a lot of viewers, dude. Somebody might come after me for saying that.
No, but at the end of the day, that's your opinion, and people.
I mean, it's just I'm a crypto guy. I would rather not have all the extra risks and nuances if I don't need to, right? Like the grayscale products I like, right? We said,
well, the reason people like MSTR is because they load up on options and they're leveraged like almost 4x to spot BTC. But outside of that, there's not a unique reason I would buy.
well, so MSTR is going to be funky now. So after the split, the options change quite a bit, and mostly like we would have some guys trade MSTR options on like a Friday, but right now, from an options perspective, if you look at the options chain, and this is important, by the way, for any stock that goes through a split. I was just looking at my Chipotle today. It's like, okay, we're having some of that. There's too many strikes after a split. There's just way too many like option strikes, and that's actually a problem when it comes to like volatility and things like that. Too many strikes is no good. You have to wait for a lot of that. You have strikes like every 50 cents on a lot of these options. It's just too much. You need that to kind of like burn off and start to disappear. Have some of these, the expiration is called series, have some of these series fall off and get a little bit more distance in between those strikes, and then you're going to be probably back to a good trader. But until then, hopefully the spreads tighten up. MSTR options were like legendary, like wide spreads,
Right.
bid-ask spreads. We're talking like 100% difference. But what's cool here is that you can buy some cheap stuff and maybe take some YOLOs. But even then, you're looking at like a 25% bid-ask spread. At least it looks like after hours.
Right. Can we look at Snapchat?
Oh, dude, hey, 8. We know it's an $8 stock, right?
And it's like rinse and repeat, 8 to 15.
Yeah, it is. It is. I feel like you could buy it right now. Go ahead, dude. Go ahead, buy it. Set your limit. Good to cancel at 16, or you know what? Like undercut it at 12. Dumb, and you're good.
It's hilarious to me, dude. Every
time. It really is. Gurgavin, you know Gurgavin? Do you know Gurgavin?
Bullish on Snapchat. I don't
He
know
always like I was buying Snapchat.
Dude, he added me on Snapchat the other day, and like I was just like, dude, who the fuck
is he on Snap?
He's like actually posting stories and stuff, and I'm like, dude, like
that's wild.
This is like a children's this is like.
Well, you would think that. So this is where I was like on Snapchat. Ask around. You guys in the chat, let us know. Do people really use Snapchat? And like,
well, apparently 480 million people a month or a day use this thing.
I know, right? But I think they pay the content creators too much. Yes. Right? I hear that that's like a place to be if you're a content creator. So maybe you could try out Snapchat.
It's very pop culture TMZ content. It's not like anything.
Is it?
Yeah,
dude, I couldn't even tell you.
It's Hollywood, Los Angeles influencer type of content.
God, James, Snapchat. I don't know, but like my nephews and nieces definitely use it. But I
was at a birthday party a couple months ago, and I asked the kids there, hey, what social apps do you use? And the number one thing they said was Snapchat.
Dude, so that's kind of mind blowing to me. So like, I think you could take a shot, right, and just like put it away. And maybe set that limit, sell, because it's made this round trip so many times.
I just don't like touching it because Evan Spiegel doesn't seem like he cares about shareholders at all, dude.
No, I mean, I don't think, yeah.
I mean, maybe on a technical you buy and sell, but like fundamentally, the dude does not give a shit anymore.
Yeah, I think that's fair, right? Fundamentally, you just have to believe, like it's in the tech and not the leadership. Kind of like Snowflake, I hate to say, like you believe in Snowflake, the tech, but the guy he's a product guy, so he's building it out, right? He's building the products. It's not like a visionary type person. He's a get her done product guy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do 2 more, and then I'll get you out of here. Lyft, real quick, if you have any thoughts on that one. They had a really good earnings, profitable.
You guys, Lyft. See, Uber's over 70 again.
Yeah, Uber. You own Uber, right? You like Uber.
No, I actually ended up selling some Uber. It's not like an active position for me. I think Futbucker did. This looks like it's back in the. This is one I would not mind buying at $10.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. Right. This is one I would not. The only problem is like.
I like their CEO. He said we're going to serve a can of whoop ass on CNBC last week. I was like, oh, I like that. That's exciting, you know. But yeah, in general, it's like Uber's the winner.
These rideshare, they still. Here's the other thing: is like robotaxi is still coming August 10th.
Yeah, but it's not getting rid of these guys anytime soon. I mean, realistically, dude, people are not getting a robo taxi to McDonald's.
I think that's fair, right? I think it works like this. In between now and then, these guys can have a nice little pop. But then the closer that we get to robotaxi, well, the market's going to start dumping them.
The market will dump them. That's correct. Correct.
Yeah, just in case, regardless of whether or not it's true. So I think here now, yeah, Lyft, you can take a shot at. I would venture to say you probably should take a shot at it.
I mean, it fell 20% last week. They don't have Lyft Eats like Uber. They have nothing fundamental that's exciting about the company other than the stock has fallen like 80% since IPO.
Yeah.
And they're now
maybe you buy DoorDash instead. I mean, we use DoorDash all the time over here, and this is probably not bad.
Huh.
Actually.
They announced a new partnership with HBO Max today as well.
DoorDash?
Yeah, it's like free, I think a year of free HBO Max with a Dash Pass or something like that. They're doing something.
I don't hate DoorDash, dude. I gotta tell you, I do. I think they're crazy overpriced, but
yeah, it's too expensive.
But
I mean, compared to Uber Eats, it's much expensive.
Is it? We don't even use Uber Eats out here. We all use DoorDash.
Really? You don't use Uber Eats in California? Why not?
I just don't think it's as prevalent. DoorDash was like built here. I don't know. I think they probably just grabbed up all the places first, and then Uber Eats came in second. But yeah, I mean, this actually, it's another one where like, it would look a great long down here. You gotta have a longer term view though.
Got it.
Not a trading stock.
Last quick one, because someone did a super chat. We don't need to look at the fundamentals of the company. We looked at it last week, but PLMR.
No. Big Sour asked about this one.
Yeah, but he asked about it last week too, and we
okay. Can I get a drum roll? Do you have like a drum roll?
I do not have a drum roll.
I don't have it.
It looks like you did some DD on this. Who knows? Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Where's my?
I drilled during the pandemic. Yeah, a lot of people did. I
don't have it. I don't have a drum roll sound effect.
I'm gonna get a mixing board and then eventually have that sound effect.
So I last time I said this was I think this was an insurance company. And my only concern was that if we do get this bounce again back into growth, that safety pulls back, right? And an insurance company would be in that safety kind of trade. I think this is holding trend.
Wait, you don't think this is a defensive play?
No, I do think this is defensive play.
Oh, okay.
But if the market goes on offense, defense isn't going to be in favor.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, so that's what I would be more concerned about. I think this is a small cap company, so you have to be October 24th. You have to be really in tune with what's going on, both from a headline perspective and from an earnings perspective. What the hell? Why are their earnings estimates so high? Look at these revenue estimates.
Also, they missed on revenue by 60%.
No, but look at these estimates. Well, I'm missing a big piece of this. Big Sour, what am I missing here?
Yeah, what Big Sour? Why
these estimates are out of this world, crazy high. What's going on?
Dude, Big Sour knows something about this stock.
Yeah.
They know something about this. PLMR.
Earthquake insurance. I mean, Big Sour probably thinks that I'm going to be in the ocean because I live in California and the whole state's going to fall off.
There was an earthquake yesterday, right? In Pasadena, I think.
Oh, I'm in Silicon Valley.
Okay.
That's quite a bit lower.
Big Sour says they beat and raise. Okay.
Why are they raising when their estimates are so high? Who's got these estimates way out here? So I would not if they're raising, is it their estimate? Their estimates are way out of line. This is sketchy. Maybe beating.
No. So Seeking Alpha says 123 million. That's what Seeking Alpha says. So Earnings Hub has that wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're
So
gonna have to
King
call
Alpha
him.
is saying they're going to do 123 million. That's the estimate.
Okay. That got me scared. I was like, that's no good. I mean, high estimates. This actually looks a little bit better. And earnings going up. I think this goes into like Chubb, Buffett's buy on Chubb.
Yo, how is that done? What is Chubb? Where's that at right now? Chubb is 267. He bought it at 80 or something, or 90.
No, he bought
Higher,
it
right?
like 250s.
He bought it at 250.
Yeah. Not 80, 90. This is, by the way, this is a really good performing equity. I have to go back and look, but I think, this is insurance too. PLMR. I think this is, what's the dividend here? No, that was right. It's too small for a dividend. Look, it's holding its trend. It's still higher. You could probably pick it up if you see like a crazy flash, sub 85. You're probably okay. It's in consolidation. It's not going to be until it's over this 95 type level. Really, this one, 97. I think this is what we said, 97.18.
Yeah.
It's this high right here that you're like, okay, we're going, and we should really start consolidating. I say going, like consolidating up in this area. But for now, as long as this trend is intact, which it is, this is where you do want to be a buyer. So higher high, higher low on a daily scale. Low, higher, so low, higher low, higher low, high, higher high, higher high, higher low. Today looks like it would have been a buy. Kind of retesting these little top wicks. This looks constructive. I wouldn't say it's like, oh, I'm going to break out, because I just don't know. I don't know a whole lot about the company.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this company.
But it looks like stay the course to me.
Right. Yeah, it's above that trend line right there. Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's this 85 type level. So that's kind of like your risk reward. It's decent. Because if it does like end up losing it, this is the only thing I'd be worried about. It would look like that. And what's going to happen is that you're going to breach that 85 a little bit right here. You'll breach it just slightly, and you will bounce, but you'll lock in a lower high. That's going to be your, what we call a lifeline, where you think that it's going back up because it made a new low, but then now it's going back up. People bought it or something, right. But it's in reality, it's a lifeline. It's like the market threw you a life preserver. It's up to you to grab it if it locks in a lower high after a lower low.
Got it. All right, we have to do one more for your boy, Futbucker. But before I say the ticker, everyone, please make sure, if you got value out of these 2 hours, to follow Jason on Twitter. He has a Discord.
Have we been on for 2 hours?
Yeah, time flies. Time always flies with us, dude. Last time we went for 3.5, dude. We only did 4 hours. But yeah, he has a Discord on his Twitter, all good stuff. You can join his community, and if you want to like actually talk to him and really get advice, then all that stuff is on his Twitter. All right, for your boy Futbucker, Airbnb.
Well, they dumped it. So
they dumped it. And they're not getting. What's her name? Brian Chesky.
Futbucker, are you going dumpster diving right now? Is that the plan? I just want to know. Can you tell me in the comments? Is Futbucker dumpster? Are you dumpster diving?
I mean, the CEO responded to someone on Twitter. He said, "I would buy it right now." Then he quickly deleted that shit. But
did he really?
Yeah, he did. It was hilarious. Bloomberg caught him. It was so funny.
Oh my god.
But he's bullish,
Where's Futbucker?
He's in the chat somewhere. He's like, we got to do Airbnb. He has $118 call, or I think he's trying to get $118 calls on Airbnb.
Oh god.
Interesting. I've always thought Airbnb made the VCs very rich in Silicon Valley. But for shareholders, it's been tough.
Okay. He's saying gap fill. So my only thing with gap fills, and he knows this, right, is that so there are different types of gaps. There are earnings gaps, breakaway gaps, like fair value gaps, that kind of stuff. Typically, a gap like this is a fundamental gap. So it may or may not have to fill. the way that we trade this, so we're really going to take this back to the fibs, big fibs. So number one, let's go to a weekly really quick. We know like down here, this is where people like to buy Airbnb. This is an old fib from over here. So actually, let me take this down. So this is your order block, right? We call order block. You have breached the low, this last low. This one is holding so far. 110 is a spot that typically does have a pretty good reaction point. This is where they were accumulating most recently. So you kind of have to believe the story overall. The one part that I would just caution here now is that if you find yourself in a lower low, so he's very, very near term trading. So like for like pop and fade, you know, you look at, this was that last kind of area where it was breaking down right in here. From the trading perspective, what you're looking at is that you have this Thursday high that we actually open, below, closed over. So tomorrow, or next week rather, tomorrow and or next week, as long as you're holding over 116.44, I think you can at least see 119. So from a day trade, so he's looking like, can I get a day trade setup? Maybe this actually does set up pretty well for like, you know, possibly to 123 type move. That's like $10 from an options trading perspective, near dated options. That's like a 3, 4, possibly 500% day trade, believe it or not. So you can make a lot of money on things like this if you're really precise with some price action and your timing is on point. This is for us. Like I trade for a living. He trades with us every day. I am super active. If you're not that kind of person, like if you have a day job and you may or may not look at the market, or you may or may not have a meeting in the middle of the day, this is not a trade for you. Or like maybe you have bladder problems and you get into a trade and you got to go to the bathroom.
You might have to liquidate your balls.
Yeah, and you blink and you can be down like 50%. This is one of those. So if you're able to sit there and be there at the right moment, you guys, look, I do this. I trade for a living. So this is some of the stuff that I will do too.
Dude, I'm just imagining a product manager with like Zoom on one screen and like stocks on the other screen and trying to like navigate both.
I've had like clients that are like dentists trying to active trade. I'm not joking. I'm like,
dude, there's no way you've had a dentist try to trade during a surgery. There's no way they've traded during a surgery. There's no way.
Can you imagine?
There's no way. There's no fucking way, dude. If my dentist did that,
I'm just telling you what's true, dude.
If my dentist was trading stocks when giving me a root canal, I would flip the fuck. And
I got
3 root canals last year, so it's like I want them to focus. Like,
I mean, I'm sending you a Sonicare or something, dude. You're good. So I think it's gonna be like this. This is happening on data tomorrow. If you're over today's high, it's just happening, right? Because this could get a gap up and it's going to look like this, but your upside target, I'd say 123 max, near term 120s. That's going to be your 50% retracement of this earnings like destruction. So to retrace half of an earnings like dumper, this is actually pretty normal. Like I can show you a couple that, you know,
Buttbucker said he closed the trade during a fire.
Yes, dude.
Buttbucker's a fireman for those that don't know.
Yeah. So like that's what I'm saying.
Could you imagine you run into the burning building? Oh, I gotta close my put first. Like it's just.
I'm just saying, like it's true, right? So what I wanted to do is I'm gonna give you an example of something like this, right? So Shopify more recently had a pretty bad earnings reaction. Right. And so what you can do when you see these kind of situations, and this is very similar to this Airbnb, is like, here was that pivot that you got. And at this day, you're sitting over 60 something. You have 2 pivots, 61 and the 64. When you look at this, we're doing these fibs. Okay. So here's actually, I'll just take it from this day. You know, the upside target's actually going to be in this 70 level for like half gap fill. And it really becomes a real trade when you're over the 64. So it can start making big moves into that. You might take it quickly and then close it, but it's usually going to hold this same kind of level. You see what's happening right now? Let me just make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. But it's from this kind of top, you get to this push and you can actually essentially get into this box at some point.
Yeah, Shopify had a great earnings.
There it is, right? But you'll hit this 50% retracement and it's choppy in this kind of situation. Expect this, right? And so you might take a couple shots at it and get out of the way pretty quickly, but it's going to be that 64 on Shopify, and we have on Airbnb is the very same kind of level. It's this 116.50, right? So if you take anything away from that, it's the 116 type 50, 116.50 kind of level here.
Yeah.
You might be able to pull it down to this. Call it 115.50, sorry. 116.50 is like definitely going. It can pull back, but expect this first kind of pivot to really kind of play defense, and it may be choppy, right? And it may go, it may not. And this is when we're like, oh, you're going to close it because it looks like it's really ugly, only to have it like open the very next day, boom, hit your target, and then you're gone. And that target's right around 120.
Do you have any updated thoughts on Intel at all, or still think it's?
I mean, I'm still waiting for the attack. I mean,
what attack? Oh,
the invasion. It's gonna happen, right?
Oh my god, dude.
He's
talking about China and Taiwan, folks. If you missed it,
this is the real war trade.
It's wild, right? Bro. It was up $10 billion on Trump's line about Taiwan. It's crazy.
Was it? This is the real war trade. I would get with that.
But it makes sense, dude. If TSMC is gone because of an invasion, then what's left? Intel.
Yeah. So do you want to be serious about this one? I mean,
we could be serious about it.
Can you bring put me and TJ together one time? Because I know he's in this.
Yeah, we should set up a stream with all three of us.
So I think,
by the way, while Jason's talking, put in the chat, where's the craziest position you've been buying the dip or closing a trade on your phone? Because some of you have some fun comments. So put in the chat if you've been in a.
I mean, toilet doesn't count because that's literally everyone.
Yeah, toilet doesn't count. Like, what's a crazy place you've been in? Someone said they were at a stoplight. I've definitely bought stocks at a stoplight, dude. I remember doing that plenty.
Definitely. So I'm coming in here and I'm gonna pull in kind of an important level. So I think 19 and change, we know, look, you're down here. This is a case of, is the stock done going down? I think maybe in near term, but it doesn't necessarily have to. It doesn't have to go up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So at that point, you want to find out, like, so when can you say, is it going to go up? Right? Like that's how we do this. So you start to look for what we would call like a breakout level. And I'm getting a couple points here. I have to go way back. And I mean way back. I'm in like 2000s. But that's just where the price is trading at, right? And so what I'm landing on is like about 2250, right? So this was like a breakout way back here. A lot of trading activity in this 2250 kind of area. Do you see this?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, big time. And then major like momentum right in here, right? And I have this is a big volume shelf. That is about 21 at the volume shelf. So I think it can chop 221. And here we are. Interesting enough, that's where it really came down. So I would go ahead and say for now, this can potentially bounce. This is called like an island or like a diamond kind of setup. 2063. Here you get up to 2025, but this is weird looking at a chart with like 5 candles because there's nothing else around it.
Yeah. It's really
But-
no man's land at the at that price level.
Well, this is where it is, right? Like, I think right now you can get a bounce. This is one where I would definitely not be going out and buying like crazy leaps necessarily.
Yeah.
Unless you're over really like 22 and change, right? And so 2171 becomes a major pivot, but it's 22, call it 2250. If Intel's over 2250, I think you are going back up. And I think in that case, you can go ahead and step in to strength. Be careful at 23.
Okay, so actual last one, Lockheed Martin. This is an all-time high. Do you think this is by the rumor on them?
A lot of times they're sell the news or sell the rumor moves. So Raytheon, have we seen Raytheon? I haven't looked at it.
That's also, I think, close to all-time highs as well. Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of like the conflict cabinet. I call it conflict cabinet, like your war trade stuff, defensives. I think as long as there's stuff there, I think Lockheed probably has its own merits aside from the war stuff. I don't actually think it's just that. I think these guys have been pretty depressed stocks for a while. So they have a lot of that general accumulation, big breakout on earnings here, winning a bunch of contracts, lots of contracts, and stock not really moving. I think this is just like your typical like earnings continuation right now that has a little extra tailwind from some geopolitical risks. It's hard to say like, hey, look, we are, I'll do this for you. So here's your last consolidation right there. And you have a breakout 460. So what you want to do, and it's really hard when your stock is in no man's land, meaning like all-time highs, things like that. You have to use these things called extensions, and you're there. And so an extension of this consolidation here. So 100% extension of that is basically going to bring you to 625s.
Right.
Right there. And so I think that becomes your like real target. So you're about halfway there right now. So I would expect this to continue slightly, but have a little bit of a stutter step just under 600, call it like 581. And then possibly pull back, chop for like a week or two, and then later on make a move to 620s.
Right.
But this is like the tarot card reading, right? Where it is prognostication at its finest, right? Like here's we go. This is a bit of a stretch to tell you this. I mean, I think it's legit, but this is how you have to do it.
In terms of Meta, this one's really interesting because it went all the way down to 440. Now it's back to 520. Do you think at all that is this based on the merits of Meta, or is the market getting too exuberant for large cap tech in a market where they shouldn't be so excited so quickly?
Meta's one where like it really didn't get like a big pullback, right? Like it got to 470, and we know, like, to me, Meta's in this box. I don't think Meta breaks out, but it looks like it wants to. Like, I know it looks like it wants to. September's around the corner. That's what gets, like, if you're long, I'd say stay long, right? Yeah. And if you see some kind of fail, I say fail. So you're not out of, like, you're at the highest risk point, and probably the best risk reward on Meta for a short.
Yeah, agreed.
It is what it is. So like, here's your consolidation, right? 450s to 530s, and you're sitting on 530s. This is where sellers have actually come in. It's this kind of situation right here where, like, you want to just be aware. This stuff happens. Can it get a little bit of a push tomorrow on whatever happens in the market? Yeah, it can. To like five. I was actually looking at selling 535, 540 upside call credit spreads yesterday.
Yeah.
Went up today, but I think that this overhead supply stands, if that makes sense. So I think in this area, you might be able to catch it for a quick day trade. Meta is a very, very fast mover.
Yep.
So you have to be super familiar with this type of like underline. It's extremely volatile intraday. It can look like something 1 minute and then poof, completely different the next. And it loves to move in the mornings. So here's just an example, big move in the morning, and it pulls a lot of it back, almost all of it, pretty quickly, only to just continue on to the upside. But this 531.50, that is the all-time high, like not the most recent, but this was the prior all-time high here. That's a major level for Meta right here, right now. So it can go up a little bit, but if you start coming back down below, that's when I would say if you're long Meta, you could probably start selling some upside calls. This looks like it's ideal to be selling some upside calls down here. I would not be selling puts. I would be more of a seller of upside calls. If it's gone up and then starts to pull back below 528. So before, I would just let it breach, and it may hold that level and then continue on. So my point of saying what I'm saying is that I would wait for something like this to happen first, because this, you can kind of just let it roll. But if you're at a point where, like, if it comes up and then comes down and fails lower below 530, it is a near-term short, and you're likely going to go back into this range somewhere around like 500. And if you want to be like aggressive seller of calls, you would sell some in the money calls. But yeah, I think it's generally range bound. You'd need a catalyst, whether it's the market or Zuck doing something.
Okay, absolute last one, Jason. This SoundHound ticker, everyone is obsessed with it for some reason.
Why?
Dude, in my chat, there's at least 50 people every day saying, "What do you think about SoundHound?" And I'm like,
"What do you think about SoundHound?"
I think it's just pumped up because Jensen put in like $2 million and like
$2 million.
Yeah, I think he invested $2 million in it. Or NVIDIA invested, not Jensen. And people think it's like the next AI voice revolution platform. Now, it did go up like 10x in a month in February, but obviously it's come down since then.
It's small cap. So like what I'd say is like there are going to be a lot of winners and losers from at the application layer for AI, a lot, right? And way more losers than winners. In the meantime, things can get really crazy. So not being super familiar with the stock, or not the stock, but like the company. I don't need to be familiar with the stock itself, but the company and what's going on. If there's deals in the pipeline that are happening, the thing here is like there might be a deal in a pipeline for a company that is potentially real. What I'd say to that is that doesn't necessarily matter. What matters is if the market's already pricing the full benefit of that deal into the stock price today.
And we saw with Lumen last week, they did not price in the $5 billion deal, which is why Lumen obviously moved.
Yeah. It is a $1.6 billion market cap company. I know nothing about the story. To be honest, I stay away from a lot of this stuff.
I just even think that chart, I mean, it ran aggressively on rumors back in February.
Well, this is a chart where it's going to run on rumors. So like the rumors are good. This is a definitive type of buy the rumors, sell the news kind of ticker. And the whole run, sometimes on these, you can be like 50% in a single session, and you've captured the entire move. That stuff happens. So this is where we are on SoundHound. Basically, these two tops here, February and July. This is pretty key level, and it comes down in this box. So right now, this looks like it's trying to bounce. I think that your better buys are at the low end of this box, so around like 4s. And you can be long here, but I would have like a trailing stop on equity. I would never touch something like this with options. If it's under a couple bucks, like there is no reason for you guys to be trading options. I don't care how much time you have. It's just unnecessary. It's just unnecessary. You don't need it. If you feel the need to pay $5 for a $5 call, pay $1 for a $5 call to control 100 shares, I honestly challenge that logic is you could just pay $500 for 100 shares and not have the delta risk. So that said, you're at a pretty big kind of pivot at 5. This could go either way pretty quickly. A fail is down to 450, but you know, I think your upside is going to be around the 780s. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Right here. So not knowing the fundamentals, a squeeze, and it's going to be a squeeze. This might be a single session move, and it might even be something like, oh, it looks bad. Boom. Right.
Yeah.
That's how these things tend to trade. So again, I think your better buys are closer to that $4 level, and exits just 750s. And then if you really like the company and you know that it trades like this, you can trade around a core position, if that makes sense. So like you over leverage over here, or like oversize a little bit down here, and then start to right size. We call it right sizing as you get into this level. And over time, just kind of like my net job is to accumulate more shares. Yeah, I think that's, yeah. So Surfer Boy, perfect, right? 205, took it to $9-10. That's great. You can be a believer, but don't lose money, right? So take your principal out. And then you can be in this like mode of like, I still believe. And so I kind of want to accumulate more shares and then take some of those profits and start accumulating. If you can be that type of an active participant in the market.
Right.
But this is one where I would say like, you're going to have to really follow the company. Because there could be some headline that tanks it or some competitor. I don't know. I think that this is too in the weeds of tech to say too early.
Yeah, and this comment that SOUN has patents that have foresaw the future need for AI audio, which is why NVIDIA bought. I think that's fine, but they have to show like growth from those patents.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's all good, like maybe early.
Yeah.
Like there's I don't know, when we talked about crypto like a while ago, it's like there's some crypto projects like I don't buy tokens, I don't buy utilities.
Dude, did you think DAOs were the stupidest thing ever in 2021? Decentralized autonomous organizations.
I mean, yeah, but like at the same time, I mean,
they were all governed via a token. And I just thought this is
via like a voting protocol.
Like, right? Do you remember Andreessen Horowitz invested $5 million in a DAO called Friends with Benefits? FWB was the token. It's down 99%. A VC fund invested real money into a DAO. It's just like, this is ridiculous. This is insane.
Well, so, you know, the crypto ICO time has like come and gone, to be fair. I still get pinged on projects, and I've tried like more recently to see, like, put my toes in the water, probably like, I don't know, 3-4 years to see if, you know, I'll still get sent like what we call like SAFs, or like private placement stuff. The market's just not like it used to be, man. It's just not, right? And so it's really tough. The appetite has to be there across the board. And again, the only things I do in crypto now are, and I have a rule, like only hyperscale layer 1 platform, like core blockchains. That's it.
Do you have Solana? Do you own Solana?
Yeah. So that would qualify. So Solana, Avalanche, those are definite. That's definitively hyperscale layer 1. So like high throughput, high bandwidth, layer 1 core protocol or core blockchain. For sure. But, you know, I would be the first to tell you that like Solana could still go to 20, right? Like, and I would be a buyer, right? But that should be like your cost basis anyways, if that makes sense.
All right, Jason.
Yeah, Avalanche. I do love me some Avalanche. Fastest blockchain, like, period. But, you know,
there's so many of them. I've heard of Avalanche. I know Solana, ETH, and Bitcoin are the ones that really get most of the love.
Yeah.
The overall crypto.
Yeah, I think it's a UI thing. We're in the weeds. But I think, you know, it's Cirrus. I don't know what that is.
It might be a stock.
Yeah, I think it's just core, right? Until there's another, it's so many crypto scans, Han Solo. Very true, man.
Well, one thing I've been hearing is that if we get into a little bit of a crypto winter, all the altcoiners are going to become Bitcoin maximalists, right? Because you just leave
they
a
don't
lot
do
of
that.
your altcoins and you just
Well,
realize,
they trade in their alts for some Bitcoin, right? Because they're
Right.
still trying to stack BTC. But
dude,
but
my
you know,
friend
once an altcoin fan, always an altcoin fan, dude. I'll just give you that.
my boy put in $500 into Dog With Hat. That's a token. He made a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
$500.
that so like I said,
a lot of money.
Once you catch an altcoin run or like a meme run, like I don't know, dude. It's almost like crack, dude.
He was
like,
up a
they're
couple,
just like they keep coming back. They keep coming back for it.
He was up a couple $1 million.
Yeah,
on a $500. Like it was like he told, and he wasn't selling. I was like, dude, if you don't sell, I'm gonna fucking kill you right now. Like,
he probably couldn't sell. That's what it was. That's the truth. There was no liquidity. Nobody would buy it from him.
It was insane.
But yeah, this stuff is wild, dude. It can get crazy. So like people chase it. But yeah, I think just know if it's not what I just said, hyperscale layer 1 protocol, it's probably not going to last. If it's a token, if it's utility.
Yeah. Yes, this is a regular thing every Tuesday with Jason. You guys seem to love it.
You guys have been calling it TT sessions. I didn't know what TT stood for. Apparently it's Technical Tuesday or Technical Thursday. So
TT reminds me of something else. So
did you come up with that name or did one of the guys?
I came up with Technical Tuesday, but I'm not married to that name. We could change the name if we want. Like I don't.
Could be a Wednesday.
All right. Or what do you guys think should be the name of this segment? Independent of the day that it's on.
Independent of the day.
It's usually going to be on Tuesdays, though. I mean, Tuesday works for both of us. So
yeah.
Let us know if you guys have a better name. All right, Jason. This is his Twitter. Make sure to check him out. Yeah, I was just at that point. We just call it something. You know, we call it that. It's TT. It might as well call it something else.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff I think. And then by the way, so we'll be on Thursday, right? You and I. For Stock Talks thing on Spaces.
Oh yeah, on Twitter. Yeah.
So we do that. But yeah, if you guys hang around, like if you're tired of Amit, you know, I'm live on Twitter every day, also most days. So
what time do you go live on Twitter? What time?
I'm live. So in the server, I stream video. You can see my trades, like what I'm actually trading, the contracts and stuff like that. On Twitter, it's just audio. It's all day, man. You think you stream a long time? I'm literally most of the time open to close.
But you're streaming to your members. It's not like a public stream or anything.
No. So on Twitter, it's pretty much like throughout the day, on Spaces on audio.
Oh wow! So
it's not just me though. It's with a lot of people. So you know we'll have like 5 to 10. I'd venture to say pro traders, but these guys we all trade for a living. So we're there. That's free. If you want to see and we'll talk about what our trades are. We won't necessarily say these are the actual things that we're taking. There's a lot of people in there, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But if you want to hang out, what have you, we're always there. And then in the server, that's when you can come and actually interact and ask questions whenever. I'm live there for the most part all day. Minus Mondays. I don't like to trade a whole lot of Mondays because that's more like prep work. For the rest of the week, and then we do that weekly trade plan on Monday afternoons.
All right, no, it's fun, dude. It's our life, dude. Just staring at. Someone was saying the other day, your life is just looking at candlesticks, and dude, I'm like, yeah, that's true. And it's
trading. I'll just tell you, trading can be really lonely. If you're a pro trader, that's your day-to-day living. It's really lonely. Look, Amit's got his bricks. I got my wood background. Hey, by the way, this is real, right? And there's nobody else around us, right?
And this is real too. Okay, don't.
Yeah.
That little mark right there is not fake at all.
But if we didn't have each other, dude, it'd be really lonely. So you guys, the community, much
well, love. That's why the community do that. My mom's like, you got to go get friends. I'm like, Mom, I talk to a lot of people. Dude, I was on the phone with Adam today.
My mom says
I'm talking to people all day. I never feel like I'm lonely. I mean, there's a lonely element to this job because I'm not at some corporate office, but I'm very social.
I will tell you, I make myself, this is an office. Like, this is an office building. It's not my home. Like, I make myself leave the house every day, go to an office, sit down, and then leave the office. Otherwise, it can follow me. Like,
so you rent out a space near your house for the office?
Oh, near my house? Yeah.
How is it? Is it a good rent? Did you get a good deal on that, or is that?
You know, I got a partner, so it's like, yeah, as good as you can get.
All right.
So,
Paper HQ. Yeah, Paper HQ.
Yeah, we call this HQ. I have two HQ1, HQ2. But yeah, sometimes, you know, Silicon Valley traffic sucks. Living on the West Coast sucks. I woke up late this morning too, and I was like, oh, I missed the open, and it was such a crazy day. You know what? Where do you don't live in the West Coast?
No, I'm in these. I can never live.
So I literally have to wake up at like 3:30 in the morning.
Fuck that, dude. Fuck that.
He goes, fuck that.
Dude, I was in California in June. I was trying to do the market open, and I had to wake up at 5 a.m. I was like, I can't live like this.
Dude, you got to wake up at 3:30 so you can like mosey around. Well, you don't have kids, right? So I have the kids, right? Like, get the kid together, take him to the babysitter, whatever. And yeah, it's if you're not asleep by 9, you're probably screwed because you got to get up way early.
100%. 100%. Shout out to Adam. Thank you for the super chat, dude. Amit's literally one of my best friends. I was on the phone with him for like an hour today, just talking about stocks and stuff. So I met a lot of people through this community, which is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. Thanks so much.
IWM tomorrow. She's probably going to be the mover.
Yeah.
By the way, we didn't look at IWM chart. It might even be Upstart. I don't know if you guys have looked at that.
Dude, is that thing still up right now?
Oh, dude, you should look at the Upstart chart. It's really
a 43% in a fucking week, bro.
I'll just do.
What is this, guys?
Yeah. Well, so it's crazy. There's can I do one? That's Upstart since inception. This is the moment right now on Upstart. If it gets through, it's gonna be a wild one. I know it looks like 43%, but this is where we are.
I mean, if we get a good CPI tomorrow and a good Robinhood, I don't know if Robinhood's really going to move off those metrics, but I think that'll help it with CPI. Why?
Why not?
Well, you know, I was looking at Robinhood's chart.
Well, why? I mean, why not?
Well, look, after their earnings on Q1, they fell, and it took about 10 days for them to like start to recover and really move up. And I think
how much time was there between that report and then the monthly release?
Same time as now. They release it a week after earnings. So that's actually, oh shit, that actually makes a lot of sense. You just solved the mystery for me. So Robinhood dropped like 16 last time in May, and then by May 20th, from May 7th to May 20th, so about 2 weeks, it got to like 19, $20, 18, I think high 18s. Maybe that's the same way. Maybe they need that
they do
of July. Yeah, you might be right about that. Yeah.
So
that'll be after hours, so we'll see.
After hours tomorrow?
Yeah. You can join again if you want, just for that.
I'm a day early.
Okay. Yeah.
Shit.
And then IWM as well. That's a big one tomorrow.
That's a big one tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I might keep my calls on an extra day. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I like the spot on Robinhood, and I think that's going to be a catalyst. So if it's tomorrow after hours,
24, I think is a little aggressive in September.
That's a little aggro for sure.
It's a little aggressive. I would consider rolling those, or maybe.
Look, Hood only moves mostly for these reports, so it might just be a weekly call.
Yeah.
At the close.
Yeah.
You never know.
All right. I'll see you next week, Paper. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Adios.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right, guys. I'm out. Thank you all for joining. Hope you guys appreciated this segment every Tuesday. This is really fun with Jason. So I'm going to move the Vlad podcast to tomorrow. We'll watch it. Today, I just have way too much stuff to finish after this stream. So tomorrow, 8 p.m., we're going to be listening to the Robinhood Bankless podcast, Vlad with 2 crypto guys. So 8 p.m., if you're free tomorrow, feel free to join. I listened to a little bit of already, and it's really good. Like I listened to a couple segments, and it's like he gives a lot of clarity on the crypto future for Robinhood, credit cards, like a lot of good stuff. Actually, it makes sense. You know what? We might just watch it after the metrics come out tomorrow. That actually makes a lot on the market close. Yeah, why don't we just do that? So on the market close, probably by like 5 o'clock, we'll just watch the podcast on the close, and we'll just listen to it from then. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Last thing after the hours, after the bell, we had Palantir at Robinhood 1850 up about 0.5% after the bell. Palantir 3040 up 0.3%. Second close since 2021 above 30. So very nice to see that close above 30. NVIDIA up a little bit more after hours, up basically 7% on the day. S&P slightly down after hours. Disney up a little bit. Google down a little bit on that Bloomberg piece that the DOJ is going to break them up. That's probably not going to happen. And then the QQQ up 2.4% on the day, down a little bit after hours at 462. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it so much. Love you all from the bottom of my heart, even though I don't know certain words. I didn't know how to say Sinai this morning. I didn't know that Tesla's sexy was a real thing until this morning. And I don't know how to say occult. So, although I got it right this time, I didn't say oculate. So I appreciate you guys for accepting all of my inefficiencies and weaknesses when it comes to speaking. But we all learn together while I make those mistakes. And they're genuine mistakes. I got to tweet about this one, dude. Hay in a needle sack. I already have the tweet drafted up because as soon as I said it, I was like, I have to tweet this. So the tweet is going to be, I can't believe I said that shit today, though. The tweet is going to be, today on the market open, I was trying to make a point and I used the metaphor, a hay in the needle stack, and I'm starting to just consider retirement. So that's going to be the tweet later today. I just, like, when I said that, dude, and I realized what I said, I was like, damn, bro, I suck at this, like at phrasing shit. Like, I'm just not good at this stuff. But then I normalize it. And so now in the future, when I need to use that metaphor and I'm trying to find something through a lot of data, I'm gonna be like, guys, I found the hay in the hay in the needle stack. And it's just gonna be our saying for the rest of eternity. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I will see you guys tomorrow on the market open early, 8:20 CPI. Big day. I think 2.8. The banks say 3.0. 2.9 feels likely, but if we get 2.8, dude, if we get 2.7, it is going to be crazy. Last time I was right. I said 3.0. The bank said 3.1. So I was right because I thought it would be better. This time I'm going to try to go 2 for 2 and say 2.8 versus 3. So let's see what we get in tomorrow and see what happens. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, 8:20 a.m. Eastern Standard. Have a good one. Good night.